Right, what is up, Rumble? Welcome back to the Crypto War Room. I'm your host, Ryan Meta. We have a brand new show that we are putting together, so bear with me while we deal with some of the technical difficulties. We are going to have a great show for you today. I got two special guests. I have Amir and Mike. Both of them are from the Kadena. Mike is the chief marketing officer of Kadena, and Amir is one of the top devs in the Kadena team. So I'm going to bring on Mike. We got Amir that I just seen. He just joined us as well. So I'm going to let Mike introduce himself. How you doing, Mike? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, I'm great, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's an honor to be here, man. I wanted to start off by just telling you, I've heard such amazing things about you from the community, specifically from the community. I think that a lot of people, when the last time I left Kadena, a lot of people were complaining that their voices weren't being heard by the Kadena team. And fast forward a few months, you came on the team, and now everybody in the community is absolutely ranting and raving about what an amazing job you're doing, how easy it is to communicate with you anytime they need anything. You're Johnny on the spot with it. And I mean, I think I put out one message or one video, and you immediately reached out to me. So I just wanted to tell you what an honor it is to have somebody like you in the community, and it's an honor to have you on the show.
No, I appreciate that. You know, we're all on the same team here. I'm honored to be on the first episode of your reboot here. So, I appreciate everything you did for the community in the past, and look forward to working with you again in the future.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike. Where you're from? How'd you get started? How'd you come across the Kadena team? Let's start from the very beginning. We're going to talk about who you are, how you got involved with the team. It's all about you, man. You're an expert on the topic, so let's dive into it.
No, hopefully nobody knows my life story better than I do. Country kid, born and raised in Chicago. Lived in the suburbs my whole entire life. Military first responder family. My dad was the chief of police of the county we lived in for 28 years. My uncle, still the chief of police of a city around here. So never left, went to school here, started my career here, started my family here. I've been a marketer for 25 years. Worked for probably a ton of big brands you've heard of, big telecoms, big technology companies, finance, worked for a ton of small little mom and pops, done the entrepreneurial thing, been in crypto now for about 5 years, trying to be a sponge, learn everything I possibly can, really just try to find a place where I can make an impact. So about 6 months ago, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. Handful of ex-colleagues and I were doing some side jobs for a couple of different DeFi focused companies. And, this opportunity with Kadena came about. And, I did some research, talked with the recruiters, and you really saw an opportunity. The first thing I did was jumped in the community, right? As most people would do, try to get a understanding of, the sort of the heartbeat of the company. And the first person I saw in there talking to everybody, ironically, was Amir. And it was funny because in my interview, I brought it up. They're like, yeah, that dude doesn't even work for us. He's a community guy. And I'm like, this is perfect. He's going to be my new best friend. Fast forward 6 months, he lives 15 minutes away from me. We're going to dinner on Thursday. So I have my new best friend. So it's been a crazy ride, man. We're trying to sort of relive our glory days of 2001 and take it to a whole different level. But it's been a lot of fun. I like challenges. I like, building things. And it's just an amazing opportunity. So I'm super happy to be at Kadena. Team unreal, technology second to none, community keeps me on my toes and keeps me honest. So that's me. It's how I got here.
Mike, it's an honor. Again, an honor to have you. We have Amir. He just joined us almost 2 seconds after the show started. So let me bring on Amir. Let's get a little bit of an introduction. I have not yet to meet this gentleman. I've heard legendary stories about you, my friend. Welcome to the show. My name's Ryan Mata. Pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Hey, pleasure to meet you too, Ryan. Mike really went dark there on us, but no, it's great to be here. I've been looking forward to seeing. I've been looking forward to kind of seeing you come back, and for better or worse, and kind of what's changed since you've been gone. And for me, being in the community has been a lot of fun. I know it can be challenging at times. It can be challenging from the outside looking in. It can be challenging, I'm assuming, from the inside looking out, seeing what we need. And a lot of times, those two things do intersect quite a bit. And so it's been really fun getting to know Mike. And the crazy thing is we're so close, yet, it's hard, challenging to kind of schedule getting together. But I've had a blast. Learning Pact. I was actually telling Mike and some of the other people, a lot of people coming in when I came in were watching your videos. So I would argue now I may be a better Pact dev. Maybe. I hope so. But that being said, I think there was a lot of hype, a lot of value to it, and so that's what one of the memories I had coming in, and it's kind of cool to just at least see you back and kind of engaging with people again. So to me, it's neat. So.
Man, well, I want to tell you, man, I've heard absolutely legendary stories about what you've built, how you build, and that you are one of the top developers in Kadena. So I'll bring Mike back on the screen and let you guys kind of go with it. Why don't you start off by telling me a little bit about what I've been, fill me in. I've been completely in the dark over the last maybe almost a year now. So what have I missed? We'll fire it off with Mike and then we'll jump back to Amir. Oh, we lost your audio, Mike. Is that on my end or?
Nope.
That's you. Okay, cool.
My bad. My Amazon kept turning the lights off, so I moved because it's all motion controlled. So I'm trying to avoid the light shutting down. Anyways, my ADD is killing me right now. So anyways, right? Like I can talk about probably the last 6 months. Back in 2021, obviously, sort of the heyday of Kadena. Lots of different things going on in the ecosystem, right? Really sort of starting out. We had a lot of success. So, when I first came in, I sat down with, the community members, tons of different community members, not just Amir, but anybody that I could really sort of talk to, just to sort of understand sort of where we were. I needed to dive into the deep end. I needed to sort of learn, right, what were the strengths, what were the weaknesses, where my opportunities lie, what were our threats to the ecosystem, those types of things. So, it was a really good opportunity to sort of start fresh. So, we started having this sort of conversation around, this is the new Kadena, right? This is, the joke I would make was, before Mike and after Mike, right? But then there's a whole BM thing there that doesn't always work out. So, it was one of those deals where, we're just sort of trying to figure out how we could do things different. And, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. I've been watching it since it actually aired in the late 90s, right? And there's an episode where, George talks about, he finally realizes one day that every decision he's ever made, every gut reaction has been wrong. So if he does the opposite of whatever he's done in the past, it has to be right. So this whole idea was the community was really unhappy with, the state of the business. And, my sort of strategy was, okay, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of whatever we did in the past. And we're just going to see what happens. And, guys like Amir, he and I became close, right? Trying to figure out and just sort of unwrap all of this. And, there's a lot of PTSD from the community side. So, this whole new Kadena thing is really about being people, right? It's about understanding that, we've made mistakes in the past. We've done some really good things in the past. And, we own those with regret and we're happy to have those conversations and we're transparent. And sometimes we're transparent to a fault, right? Sometimes we react to things and sometimes, we wear our hearts on our sleeve because we care. But at the end of the day, right? Like we're all human beings. We're all here trying to accomplish the same goals, whether we can talk about them or not, right? Like it's really just about open, honest, transparent conversation and learning. We're either going to win or we're going to learn, and eventually we're going to win. So, this whole sort of last 6 months to a year has sort of been this rebuilding phase. And, I always liken it back to, building a home. Ryan, you were going through home renovation stuff. We were talking earlier, right? Like the last thing anybody gets excited about is the foundation, right? It's boring. It's just this slab of mass, right? But it's the most important part of the house. And old Kadena, not that there's anything wrong with old Kadena, right? We were picking out furniture before we had that foundation, right? We were figuring out where HDMI cables were going to go before we'd actually put a wall up. And it's really just about that level setting, right? It's how can we sort of capture that past glory? How can we double down on those fundamentals and really start to build this from the ground up? And it's not always the most popular approach when you take a step back and say, hey, look, we're going to focus on fundamentals. But to this point, right, in the last 6 months, it's really worked. So everything in New Kadena is about, right, just being good people to one another and building really cool shit that people actually want to build on. So, and that's why Amir's here. He's building the coolest stuff out there.
Man, that gasses me up, man. I'm so excited because I always said, the community builds the crypto doesn't build the community. And I think that that's such a strong aspect, because it really is, man. You have to have people not just using your ecosystem, but, looking forward to being a part of it. And I think that everything that I'm seeing, man, all those key things that I was pointing out, a year ago, it seems like you guys are really going at it and adamant about it. I was kind of not gonna lie. I did not like the idea that you guys were changing the logo, man. I was over here like, gosh, damn, man, these guys are changing the logo. I'm like, there's no way. I'm absolutely in love with that logo. There's no way they're gonna make a better looking logo. And lo and behold, man, you guys blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe it. I actually do like this one better, man. Nice work. Was the green? Let me ask you this. My logical thinking was the green was more of a representation of what money actually is. What was the mindset behind leaving the pink behind and then transitioning to a green?
It's a great question, and I've talked about it a little bit in the past, but, colors are there to evoke emotion, right? So when you think about the color red, right, you think about Ferraris and speed, and you think about passion, and you think about matadors, right? There are things that come to your mind when you see that color. When you think about the color pink, you traditionally don't think about finance. You don't think about wealth. You don't think about technology. You don't think about any of that stuff, right? I've got 3 daughters, so the first thing I think about is Barbies, right? And that's totally cool. But at the end of the day, if we want to be taken seriously as a wealth development platform, a financial platform, a future-focused crypto platform, right? We have to have that future-focused feel to it. And, when you talk about the color green, there's this whole sort of psychology that goes into marketing and branding. But when you talk about the color green, it represents a character called the Sage, right? And Sage is sort of the Morpheus type character in the Matrix, right? So it's this sort of wise, ever-knowing person. It's Yoda in the Star Wars movies. When you have a problem and you need it solved, you don't know which path to take, you go to the Sage. And the green really means trust. It means warmth. It's not a warm color. It's not a cool color. It's sort of in the middle. It is the color of money, right? It is the color of finance. It's the color of stability. It's the color of nature. And, we thought that, when we really dove in, that was a real representation of who we wanted to be aspirationally going forward. So green just made sense, right? Like blue is a very cool color, right? It's a little bit more calm. So this to us just felt right. And, we went through a ton of different iterations, and Amir actually, it was a sounding board for me. I mean, I showed him a bunch of stuff sort of pre-launch. But you're never going to get it all right. And you're never going to get it all wrong. People are going to love it. People are going to hate it. But once you sit with it more and you understand what we're trying to accomplish, for 99% of people, it's really made sense. Even some naysayers just the other day, we'd posted some pictures from a conference and they're like, holy shit, man, that logo really looks great. Like it pops off the blue. It really, really just, stands out. So, we worked a lot with our creative agency, Galeka Plus, which is based here in the city. I've worked with them for years and years and years. So, luckily we had a good team. We put the work in, and yeah, I think we came up with a really, really stellar brand outside of just the logo. I think the logo is good, but I think the brand itself is next level. I don't think anybody's doing anything like we are.
What was the reason for changing the logo? Was that you guys just wanted something more new and innovative, or was there a reason behind leaving the old logo?
It didn't. It was bland. It didn't stand out. It was just sort of a standard K. It had a little bit of overlap, right? It had some gradient in between. We wanted something that really focused on the future. We wanted something that, while it was sitting still, it appeared to have movement to it. And if you look at the logo, even on the background, right? Like it definitely shows motion. It represents triangles. You've got the triangle on the left that represents sort of the trilemma, right? The trilemma has become table stakes. Everybody and their brother claims they've solved the trilemma. Only Kadena truly has. Only Kadena truly can. So we've got those little subtle hints. If you look at the small triangle on the left versus the big triangle on the right, we're moving into this vast wide openness of the future. If you look at the right side of the K and you look at it looking down, you've got doors that are opening up into this whole new world. If you look at the left side of the K, it's sort of the doors cracked open. So there's just a lot of fluid movement in there and motion and future feeling. And when you pair it with the font that we created, which is called Kadena, Kadena Space Grotesque, it gives it sort of that future vibe, the high tech vibe, which is really what we wanted. And it works so well together because, again, at the end of the day, Kadena is not about today. Kadena is not about tomorrow. Kadena is about 100 years from now, right? It's giving human beings of this world the power to build the digital financial future that they want. And it's not going to happen in the short term, right? Like, yeah, we might have some traction with great products like Spire Key, right? But like, this is the future. We're talking way down the path. So we really wanted it to have that feel. And, I think the team hit it out of the park with it.
Well, I think you guys did absolutely too. And just to reiterate that, you guys are the only blockchain that has solved the blockchain trilemma. So when I try to describe this to my audience, I know we probably got a lot of new people here are new to crypto, but the easiest way, and you can comment here too, Amir, and tell me if I'm saying this wrong, right? Basically, since the inception of Ethereum, every single blockchain from the beginning of Ethereum on has been trying to solve this one mathematical problem. And not one blockchain has been able to actually solve it. And that is speed, security, and decentralization. When you're building a blockchain and you're trying to build a blockchain that can support global adoption, and we're talking about billions and billions of transactions every single day, in order to do that, because a blockchain, you're just trying to fit data inside of a block, they were all limited because of the coding language, right? I don't think that Kadena was probably the first one to think about braiding a chain together, but it was the complexity of how do you braid chains together with a coding language that wasn't designed to build blockchains. And that's where Kadena's kind of has this leg up, which allowed them to basically solve this math problem that nobody else has been able to solve. And not just solve it, they have a patent on it as well. So, I mean, that's a massive leg up. Am I saying that right, Amir?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we have Emily, right, who's the head of the CTO of the Haskell Foundation. Pact is born of Haskell, right? And I'm not a huge Haskell dev. I make jokes about it all the time. I do respect it, and I respect any developer who codes in it. But it is a very good language for what we're doing, right? And while I may not be able to just go and start writing Haskell code without actually sitting down and really thinking through it, it's interesting in the sense that you can make an argument, and then I have before, I think openly, of has anybody truly solved it where speed is actually solved, right? And I think you have to take it in its parts, right? And so if you're going to solve the trilemma, which isn't a concern of mine, I don't lose any sleep over it. I don't really talk about it much because I think it's kind of everybody's going to argue that they've solved it, right? And it's just an endless argument. And so when you think about when you start, as you said, when you start talking about mathematical equations, right? Can we produce blocks at the same rate today as tomorrow when the architecture starts to scale out, right? Because we need to be able to handle mass transactions. And so, yes, it can, right? And it can continue doing that. And whether we lose a second here or a second there, or gain some because we make the memory pool more efficient, things like that, there are still things that can be done to speed up Kadena. The question becomes now, at the speed it's at the capacity we're using today, what's the actual point? It's just BS at that point to be able, like, honestly, anybody who sits down and tells me, and I don't know if we can swear on here or not, but it's just a load of bullshit. It's what it is. And so when you sit down and you make this all about one of those things, it's just bullshit. And so we have a decent speed. We have the security. I don't think there's any question there. If anybody wants to argue that, like, all day long, I would argue that one. And it can scale, right? And so the scaling's been proven. There's no more that needs to be proven there. And so when you can start talking about wrapping our chains with zero knowledge or just, standard L2s, there's pick your flavor, right? There's people got freaking L3s, whatever they're going to call them next, right? When you start thinking about that, right, that's what I want. I don't care about solving the L1 at this point. It's solid, right? It can get efficiency. Let's just make it more efficient. But now let's talk about speed. We have Pact. If we can extend that and we can introduce like true, like really true speed in transactions, that's where you're going to see the argument will die at that point. Now it still has to be delivered, right? And no offense to Mike, it's a big lift to do that, right? And something outside of my depth to be able to deliver something like that.
So break that down for us. When you talk about delivering the speed, like, I mean, we're at what, 30-second blocks on Kadena right now, right? Yep. So we're talking about extremely fast, in my opinion. Like by the time I order and I pay and I step aside, I could wait for 30 seconds for my transaction to confirm. I mean, my food wouldn't even be done before they're basically confirming your transaction. Your latte wouldn't even be made. So that's still pretty fast. What are you talking with layer twos? Are we talking about like, sub-second finality for maybe applications that would actually require something immediate like that? Or what is the value add of increasing speed past 30 seconds or faster than 30 seconds?
So you're still gonna finalize on the L1, right? You're gonna kind of true up in either batch or however. Again, it depends on the architecture and technology used. But you're talking when I click buy, I just bought. That's it. Like there's not like, let's go wait 10 seconds, let's wait 5 seconds. It's instant, right? And so the purpose of these technologies is that instant feeling, right? Now there's always a little bit of delay. Everybody knows that, especially in programming. We love to say, oh, it's like instant, but like there's delay, and I measure that stuff, so I know there's delay. But I would make it akin to right now. I have an app that some people use it, some people don't. It's really not like shared outward. Some of them just are image generation stuff, and so the cool thing about that is you pay for it, right? It's very small charge, but you pay for it. However, I took out the blockchain for a minute and I'm using just an API I built with a database, right? That's instant, right? You hit buy, and as soon as you hit buy, it's there, right? And you could talk about doing like zero confirmation on the L1 where we're trusting and it's in the mempool and we can read that, where that's fast too. And that's something that I like personally and what I'm hoping we go to in the future. But I'm talking like you take that experience I just talked about and you apply that to the blockchain. I mean, who's going to complain about? I mean, who? If you complain about that, you're just complaining to complain at that point. And so that's what I mean by speed. And then you still have the security of the L1. You still have all the functionality and the scaling. If you want to dedicate a chain to an Amazon, you want to dedicate a chain to those bastards at Google, right? I mean, they steal all of our data, right? But we're open data, right? We're Web3. We're open to everything. And so we welcome people to come steal our data. As long as it gets applied in a good way, I'm happy, right? And so we have to take the good with the bad. And that's how I view it. That's my opinion on it. And I know a lot of people will differ, but that is how we go from where we are to the future without having to redesign the whole blockchain, right? That's the purpose is it was built. Hindsight, everybody can build better. Everybody can build better. Not one protocol, every protocol. I mean, imagine Bitcoin, same thing. I'm sure, or Ethereum, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's probably true, but imagine Ethereum if they could redo it from scratch.
Oh.
They would completely redo it from scratch, right? So, but here we are. I mean, it's good. It runs. We know it runs. You've seen it. Pact to me is kind of like the secret sauce for all of it, and that's why I like coding here. It's one of the big reasons that I came here. So,
man, well, you gentlemen are getting me all excited and all gassed up. Let's go back a little bit and talk about what I know. A lot of people are talking about global adoption and is Kadena going to be ready for the next bull run? Let's just say over like the next 6 months or by 2025, what are the big hurdles that you guys are facing? What obstacles are in your way, and what's going to be a roadblock that's going to prevent people from, it's my first time, like I do my show on LFA TV, I'm onboarding new people into the Kadena. I got people, I mean, at least 2 or 3 people a day, that have no idea about what crypto is, reaching out to me, asking me what this thing called Kadena is. So the onboarding process before was a little bit difficult, where we had to transfer crypto with different wallets through different things. It was a little bit rough for a new person, but I mean, it's not just Kadena. All crypto is very complicated for the average person. So how close are we to be getting to like I want to say like a Solana type of like just super, super simple, super easy to just download, basically a Phantom wallet, send some crypto over to it and interact with the Kadena blockchain? What are those hiccups that are going to stop us from getting there? And is there a timeline or any goals to get them accomplished at a certain date?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll say the biggest roadblock we have right now is the United States government. I mean, being in the U.S. with our regulations, I mean, it is not easy to purchase our token. It is not easy to, sort of onboard that next user. Different parts of the world, super simple. Depending on who your bank is in the United States can make the determination of where you can buy crypto. It's crazy. I think that, wow. I think for adoption, we need to, we need to find some of those larger exchanges that, are more US focused, that are willing to work with us a little bit. The big question is always when Coinbase, which cost me all my hair because I've been asked it so much in the last 6 months, right? But other parties like Kraken, right? Like we've got a great relationship with those guys, and there's a lot of uncertainty in our world still, even though I was sitting here before watching Bitcoin hit an all-time high. So I think just the regulatory landscape is going to be the biggest obstacle for us, but it's not slowing us down. I mean, we're a true global company. Half of our employees aren't even in the United States. So I mean, we're working past all of this, right? This is a speed bump of tomorrow, not 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now. So, we do have lots of things coming to make this easier, a true DeFi ecosystem and this whole roadmap we're building out that's going to come off of our Hyperlane bridge, which will bridge Kadena to Ethereum and vice versa. So there's a lot coming down the pipeline to try to make this easier. But it's still not simple. It's still not a Web 2 experience yet, which is where we're trying to get.
So let me throw this back to Amir. You had said something right there, and I just totally got sidetracked because I'm trying to control 3 cameras over here. What did you just say there at the end about, you just said about, at the very end there was the last thing you said there about onboarding, not about, what was it? I can't think of it right now. I'll go with it. So Amir, what was when we talk about building on Kadena and the new tools and rollouts, I know that you had said right before we started, or right when we got started, that you were watching some of my videos on coding, and I was over there watching some, tutorials from 2019, and the topics didn't match up. When it comes to new people, like if people are in the audience and they're like, oh, I want to make a lot of money because blockchain developers make all this money and they get to code from home, and they want to get involved. How is the onboarding process for getting new developers in the Kadena ecosystem?
It's still rough. I mean, it's not the easiest. So one of the things, I explain it as like, there's 2 facets. So there's Kadena blockchain, there's Kadena LLC, and then there's our community. And somewhere we all intersect, right? We all have to work together. Even if people don't like each other, that's okay, right? That happens. Everybody gets sad in their family sometimes. I mean, we bicker, but at the end of the day, we all have a shared goal, right? So the goal is to onboard more users, which means we need more developers, which means we need to get community members more engaged in promoting people coming on board and trying. And so we need to really focus on, my opinion is doing a better job of solving that piece of it, really to me, before we solve anything else. I mean, because without users, what am I building is kind of like the question. And then the other question that comes up a lot is, why is it so hard to build? And I would argue that it's actually a lot easier to build now. If you actually take the time to look at what the teams put together for Kadena.js, offer feedback, it's actually really nice. I had a library that's very similar. However, it really does make it a lot easier, and they're taking feedback. I'm directly talking to that team. They may be getting sick of it, but directly talking to that team, because when I run into an issue, that means somebody else is going to run into this issue too. And if it's not clear to me, it's not clear to somebody else. And if I can share that, and nobody's getting upset, and that's like the sweet spot of, if I can just give raw feedback. I'm not trying to be a jerk, right? But I do give raw feedback, and sometimes it can be a lot. I talk a lot. I type a lot. And so I do videos, I do streams, and I try to show, I was doing it for a while. I have a lot of stuff going on, so I kind of took a little pause from it, but my goal is to get back into streaming. I like doing it a couple times a week. And in those streams, I like to jump between working on one of the games I'm working on. I like showing the JavaScript that I'm working on. I like showing sometimes the backend code that I work on. And then I like showing Pact. Actually, Pact is, I've built a couple of smart contracts from scratch on an hour stream that are not like voting dApp tutorials, right? So it's not that it's difficult. It's that it's difficult when you're getting started because we're kind of scattered still. But I know, and I'm not going to steal Mike's thunder on this. I know they're working on it. I don't care what anybody's working on. I'm a big believer of I'll do what I can. And so I've got my own doc site that's up. I'm contributing a couple hours every week to it. And I'm working on, Ryan, start to finish. Here's where you start. Here's all the steps you need. Here's code to go along in my GitHub. Here's a video that goes along with it. And so I'm like soup to nutsing this thing. And if you can't follow that, if you just cannot comprehend it, it is at the level where people who are non-technical should be able to follow through. There are certain things you do need to know how to do. You do need to know how to launch and run a snippet of code that I give you, right? And those are things I can't teach people. But for the most part, my goal is to teach people who don't know how to code the basics of being able to launch a project on our chain. I don't want complex projects trying to copy code like that. I think that's dangerous. But you should, if you want to learn. I take in people all the time. I have new developers coming to me all the time. It's actually overwhelming sometimes, where I have to actually say no recently. And That's cool, though. It shows me that people are coming in now. Now we got to keep them. Now we got to keep them engaged. Now we got to find a user base for them. We got to find the right application for them to work on a team with. And so those are all the things that still need to be flushed out. And I think there's a part of Kadena that needs to do it. And then there's a part of the community that needs to do it. And the community needs to band together to get that piece done. And that's on us right now. And so that's where I live and I spend most of my time, and I want to see it thrive. And so anybody's out there who's talks to me, which a lot of them talk to me daily, they know that's the only goal. However we get there together. And so that's kind of like the journey from where you were at to where we're at. We're still not there, but it has gotten better. And to me, I've been able to consolidate a lot of my code and not have to just create everything from scratch. And that's very good, right? That's a big step up from where we were.
And I think to add to that, right, it goes back to the foundational piece, right? You know, we didn't necessarily do things the traditional way that a blockchain crypto company would have done things, right? And that's totally fine. It worked for us. And like anything else, right? Like when you get to a point where it's not working, you have to pivot, you have to go to something else. So I think that, you know, folks like Amir, right? Folks like Squeegee, you know, he and this group of community devs is trying to make things as easy as possible on all the other devs that are building. You know, Amir made a great point, right? We need to get more users into the ecosystem. We need to get more devs into the ecosystem. So we're really focused on the educational piece of things. So we have an old site that was built a handful of years ago called the Kadena Academy. And we're going to be relaunching that. You know, we want to show everybody how easy it is to learn this stuff. So the gentleman that originally built that, we're in the process of revamping that site. There's going to be video courses there. There's going to be to-do MVC content that can be downloaded. There's going to be multiple tracks where if you're a brand new developer, you can go from zero to Pact in a short amount of time. We're going to have Solidity to Pact. We're going to have Rust to Pact. And most importantly, once you go through those things, we're going to have opportunities for people to actually, you know, engage with the ecosystem further. We'll have, you know, different financial rewards available and those types of things. So, you know, whether somebody's a complete novice, they've got a little bit of experience, it's going to have these tracks that are available for everybody. And then again, we've got our great community behind that to really help people through. So, you know, we're building that room right now. We've got that foundation. The walls are starting to go up, but we're not 100% there yet. And we understand that, right? And it's going to be a little bit of a longer road, but like Amir said, and hopefully he means it, right? Like it's gotten much better. We are in the community every day listening, right? We are taking that feedback back to the team. So, you know, it's a good problem to have. And we've got a ton of stuff coming down the pipeline that's going to help that out a lot.
Awesome, man. That's so good to hear. Now, when we talk about Pact and it being Turing incomplete, if I believe I'm saying that right, wow, it's been a long time. Pact is Turing incomplete, which means it's not a looping, it's not a recursive coding language. which allows you guys to use formal verification. Am I wrong when I say that you are the only smart contract coding language in the blockchain industry that's using formal verification?
I don't know for sure. I have not run into one yet that has true formal verification in the same way that Pact does, where you can just go verify against your code. I mean, you do have to put a little bit of effort into it, but it's not a lot, right? You can very quickly add formal verification. I recently have been adding it to my code only because Andy Tang kind of got on me about it, and he's right. He's absolutely right. I like to do things my way. I'm stubborn, but I can do things my way, and I can add formal verification, which is just good for our users, right? It really protects them. I can tell you for a fact that most blockchains, like Ethereum, using Solidity, which is tremendous. Don't get me wrong; they're tremendous what they've been able to accomplish, right? But they're talking about using AI and third-party services to accomplish this, which is useless at this point, right? You're not actually solving anything. You're just taking it and making somebody else more money. It's like a service now. It's a paid service. If you don't subscribe to the service, you're probably going to get hacked if you really don't, pay attention. I'm joking about that, but like that's where we're at in our journey. Is not a lot of people use formal verification, but when you start to use it and you use it for like the critical mass of your contract, you're pretty confident going out of that it's not going to be hackable, right? Or if you say 1 + 1 = 2, it's going to be 1 + 1 = 2 every time, right? It's going to be consistent. And I don't know, like I said, I don't badger, and I know a couple smart contract languages, and I love them all. I like Pact, working on Pact the most, but that doesn't mean I don't dabble in other things once in a while and just check out what's out there. Like I said, I've yet to run into anything comparable. I would love to be proven wrong, but I haven't.
Now, when I tell everybody this, I say formal verification when I'm explaining this to somebody who has no idea what a blockchain is, how coding works. It's a tool because it's not a looping coding language. So just picture like, I guess, like something that loops, that constantly, like it's like a video, right? Like the background of my screen, right? It's constantly looping, and it's designed to constantly loop. So if I were to change part of that and it were to continue to loop, there's no real way for anybody to analyze and say something's broken here or something's not supposed to be here, because it's constantly looping. Now, Pact is Turing incomplete, which means it actually completes the line of code, and it can go verify that there's no open holes and there's no looping involved, which would then make and it does this, like 1 million times a second. It's like auditing every single line of code, like constantly. So it would technically make coding in Pact and Kadena like a million or 1 billion times more secure than any other smart contract language that doesn't use formal verification, correct?
It is out of the box more secure. If you choose to use it, you could still be reckless if you would like. You don't have to use formal verification, but if you add verify and you add models and you add that enforce stuff to your contract, it is always there. It is never off. You can't turn it off at that point. It's always on as long as you enable that. So if you build from scratch with formal verification, you can verify every function that makes sense through it, right? And so you can do that. You can get feedback. You can check your types. You can do all those types of things, which are tremendous. They're a tremendous value. And as far as the coolest thing to me is, so I use atomic transactions. I like to talk about those all the time. I use them. Yeah, I use them in my back end, right? So I have a database. I love MongoDB. It's a love fest. I use a lot of different database technology, but it's one of my favorites to work with. Yep. And so the concept of an atomic transaction, right? So if any part of it fails, it completely rolls back, right? That's very standard in the industry, right? You roll back.
Did Will create that? I know Will is always talking about that.
I'm not sure who created it. However, when I see sloppy code, right, in Pact, so people do it all the time. I write sloppy code once in a while too, right? It happens. And we go back and fix it and make it better. We iterate. But we don't release it to mainnet like that. We should never do that, right? But I do see it once in a while. But when you look at their code structure and you look at a capability and you look at the security of it, let's say you let 3 things go, but then you fail that 4th one. But that 4th step should have been at number 1. In another programming language, you would be completely screwed. You would just drain your user potentially. In Pact, it stops and rolls it back, and you're good. You just can't do anything more. And that's the cool thing to me about when you think about like security and built-in mechanisms. these guys don't talk about it enough, and it's unfortunate because some of those things resonate with people who've been drained. I've had a wallet of mine hacked. I don't know what happened. I connected to what looked like a legitimate site that I've used before, and I got screwed. And I've never used a web wallet again in any capacity like that. Now, you try to do that on Pact, you have to sign it away. You can't just get drained. It just doesn't happen, right? And so those kind of things are just built in. The user has security. The contract has security. You have both sides of the equation tackled. It's very rare. And I do like that I see more new smart contract languages, including that. It's really good for our ecosystem, for all of crypto, all of blockchain, to implement those features. And I just think, maybe Mike, you can even remind them, like, let's talk about these things, not just like in a little blurb, but get out there and be passionate about it. I think it's really undersold how effective that is without having to type anything. Like, you just code and it protects you, right?
That's huge. I don't think people really realize, especially if they're new to crypto and they're maybe watching for the first time. After last bull run, I want to say it was only like June or July, and there was some odd, like almost $3 billion, or no, it was $13 billion worth of DeFi projects that were hacked on top of Ethereum. Almost every single application that was built on the top of the Ethereum blockchain has been hacked. And we're not talking about just little hacks. We're talking about Axie. What was Axie's hack? Like $350 million? So either one, these crypto products are making more money than God, and they can somehow sustain a $350 million L. Try to wrap your head around any business you know that could take a $350 million L and still be standing the next day. Or I don't know. How do you sustain a $350 million hack? But either way, I mean, why would anybody want to build on something that is eventually inevitably going to get hacked? If 90% of the applications on top of Ethereum have been hacked, what does that say about their ecosystem moving forward?
It's not sustainable. I love Ethereum. Don't mix that up. I love Solidity. I love Ethereum, but I'm always scared whenever I've audited code on that side of the fence. I'm always scared what I see, and you can see like the token projects that just copy paste vulnerable code and they deploy it, and people put $1 billion of liquidity into these tokens. And you're just like, $1 billion, like seriously, like $1 billion for like a chihuahua. And you're just like, so you're just wanting to get rugged. And 1 out of 1 billion was successful, right? And people look at that and say, but you're wrong. And I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? 1 out of 1 billion, great odds, right? But seriously, like if you want to talk about sustainability, I know they're doing a lot of stuff. I know they do a lot of things, but truth be told, I mean, it's scary, right? A lot of companies have been gun shy about DeFi on that because of all of the hacks. And what happens is one person finds the hack and they can hack everything like instantly, right? It's very scary. And not to deter, there's, like I said, there's a lot of great projects, but that's where all the users are. That's my point, is we need to figure out, not to talk about our technology, not to talk about like squiggly memes and all that stuff, but like seriously, like come check us out. Here's why you check us out. Here's how easy it is to come and play. Here's like our sandbox. You can go test out this new app that we're developing. Like we need something that hooks people in. That's not geek speak, and I don't think it needs to necessarily be like too outlandish. But it's got to resonate with people. And like, what's our target audience? I'm not gonna worry about that, Mike. That's kind of your deal. But like, my target audience is people who have money. I mean, realistically, that's my target audience because I want them to purchase something. I want them to be an investor. I want them to use our applications. I want them. I'm a huge fan of Wizards Arena, right? I like to go play that. I try to get on there every week and support those guys because they're just great. They're just a small group. There's nothing too fancy, but they have a fun little thing to play. It's a fun game in the community, right? How do we take something like that and amplify it now? Like, how do we get that out there and be like, come check this out. Here's an easy entry. Here's like a free character that, you know, every week, here's a free character. How do we do something like that? How do we help support them in that way? And those are the kind of things I think, you know, us degenerates kind of like. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but like that transcends everything for some reason.
Yep.
But it's important.
So let me ask you this. When we talk about, adaptability and bringing new people into the ecosystem and kind of that onboarding process, you guys have what is called Marmalade. So the Kadena blockchain has created a new NFT standard. For those of you guys who are new to crypto, an NFT is a way for you to verify a digital item. So think about it like your social security card. When you create a NFT on the Kadena blockchain, that individual NFT has its own security number that can be verified. So if you say that was, say, the first, the first, meme coin that you minted, or this NFT or this coin or whatever it is, the digital version of it, you can verify that was number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4. And it also has the ability to enforce royalties. So if I make an art collection and I say I create 100 pictures, whatever, little JPEG items, and I'm going to sell them each for $100. And I can pre-code in a royalty. So the artist should always be getting commission. Like, every time a radio station plays an artist's song, they have to pay that artist a royalty for using their music. If I want to go on YouTube right now and use some Atomic Donald's music, I have ability to basically lease that from him for one video. And in return, he gets 50% of my ad revenue. And YouTube enforces that because they are the one who's basically has that music on their platform. Now on Kadena, you guys can enforce royalties. And one of the really awesome things I think that could be done with royalties is the sale of tickets. So scalping is a $4 billion a year industry, which means that after a ticket is sold and I buy, a ticket to a Jay-Z concert, and then I go and sell that ticket to my buddy for, $50 more, when that transaction takes place, the stadium that sold that ticket originally, they're not getting a cut of that $4 billion a year industry. So if you guys had the ability to work with one sporting team and you could get them to mint their tickets on Kadena, and then all of the resale of those tickets had to go through the blockchain, and they were able to make a small royalty off the resale of that $4 billion industry, it would inevitably lead to every single stadium in every single country across the entire world using the Kadena blockchain to sell their tickets, because you are the only blockchain that has the ability to enforce those royalties. It's money right now that they're 100% losing that they could get back in a matter of seconds. How far are we away from onboarding players? It doesn't have to be it's tickets. It could be anything in the real world. How far are we away from having real world businesses taking advantage or utilizing the Marmalade standard or the Kadena blockchain to help make their business better?
I mean, I can definitely talk the sports and the ticketing side. I think the reality is, I shouldn't say I think, I know the reality is, I've been having those conversations with sports teams for the last 4 or 5 years now. I think the biggest issue that sports teams in the United States have, right, is sort of the governance around, right, the ticket rights through the ticket masters of the world. And I've had those conversations with Ticketmaster directly, to be quite honest. And, they do definitely see the value of it. No one in the United States is really willing to jump in yet. I think probably because of some of the regulatory stuff, to be quite honest. In a past life, I had done sports deals with the New England Patriots and the Miami Heat. Was working on another deal with Formula One racing and Red Bull. Right. And I think a huge problem is that, right, if you're the Miami Heat, if you're the New England Patriots, you can't accept crypto. Right. So now there's this whole other intangible that you've got in front of you where, it's difficult. I was working with the Miami Heat when FTX collapsed, and they literally were taking the signage off of FTX Arena. So there's still a lot of sort of bad taste. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. Right. But I think there's still a lot of distrust there. So again, I think we're close. I think we're seeing a lot more of that stuff in sort of secondary markets. I know there's been some conversations with some South American football clubs in the United States. We call that soccer, right? Like, I know that there's been some conversations that, they've done some ticketing stuff. I am having lots of conversations with sports team around fan experience, which may or may not include ticketing, but think of that even more of like proof of attendance, right? So we have a project we've been working on called Proof of Us, which is basically hey, Ryan, you and I meet at a conference and we both mint an NFT of our meeting each other on the blockchain, right? So I think there's a lot of that stuff coming down the pipeline very quickly in the industry. I think that we have a little bit of a black eye still in the sports world. And I think we're going to get past it pretty quickly. But I mean, Marmalade, I think is a great opportunity and a great standard for that stuff. Is it perfect? No. Is it new technology? Yeah. Are we learning every day? Of course. But I've probably talked to 10 different sports teams in the last 6 months, and every single one of them is interested in NFTs outside of artwork and collectibles.
Now, when we talk about the Marmalade standard, you guys are the only blockchain in the world that can enforce something like a royalty, correct? Amir?
I don't think so anymore. I think that there are a couple now that can do it. I don't know how clean it is. I know on most chains, it's got to be like a secondary step or there's like a separate policy or like a completely separate structure. So the difference is we sacrifice a little bit, in my opinion, to have some of the functionality centralized. It's still secure. It's centralized by the same freaking keys that protect our blockchain, right? So it's not like we're trusting to this a third party that we just don't trust inherently, right? However, right, that is a pillar of decentralization, is to be decentralized. And so there is always going to be that fight a little bit, but for the most part, I feel like we've all kind of come together and accepted that piece for what it is. Now, when you can get past that, right, you do see that when I mint an NFT, so I made it real easy, Ryan, for people. You can just go and drop an image, or you can generate your own image and then mint it, right? And it mints to you or to somebody else into a collection, however you want. It's meant to be super easy. Like, you don't need to be.
It's as easy as it gets.
Wait, right. You did this? You did this?
Yeah, I did it actually on back in like February of last year. Recently, I think January 1st, we launched our marketplace on V2. And yeah, you can just go there, and it works on like a how do I call it, like a credit system. So you have to get credits for it because it's not free to host all that stuff, right? So I try to keep it as low as I can, but whatever. That piece of it is what it is. And so if you go in there, and somebody did actually, he created an otter collection. I think there's 20 otters in there. All of his own artwork. He just went in there and minted them all himself. I didn't do anything for him. It just minted. I approved his collection, and off we are. Now you can sell his NFTs on our marketplace. It's meant to be super easy. I also built that functionality into Telegram and Discord, and that's where it's going to get more fun with some of the projects that I'm working on kind of throughout this year, is turning it into like a fun community thing where I'm not going to be managing them so much as just building it and having other community members really just go out there and promote this stuff, because I just don't have the time. I like to build stuff. I like to talk to people. I just can't do both. And so I actually wanted to piggytail on the NFT for sale for ticketing and just say, you got to meet people where they're at. People want to spend fiat right now. Let them do that. Get a Ticketmaster type wallet, right, where we still generate an account for them where they hold NFTs, and then we just pay with fiat, right? And so you can still transact that way. You can still handle that, and then you can do your settlement on the blockchain, right? You can convert that stuff. I know there's rules. I know there's regs to that. I have a finance background. I get all that. But like that's like meeting people where they're at. So if somebody can solve that, maybe that gives you, or puts a POC together. I don't know if somebody's done it or not. Maybe they have, but show a POC to the sports teams, right? Exactly. And maybe we find success that way. I don't know. I just think that you just keep beating that door down until you hit it, and you just got to hit it once, and then people just fall. Like it's like a waterfall, right?
Yep.
You could do that. That's cool. Here's how much they're making. Show them freaking how much money they're making now versus before. Money talks. Money moves. Money in crypto moves. Money in the real world moves. It sucks, but that's the way it is. So that's where you go, right? If you want to make money, you need a product that generates it. You need a product that people need. And instead of creating a solution and looking for a problem, we're solving a problem that really is a problem today. And so that's like, whenever I think about stuff, my brain's always wired of like, what do people want to use? Okay, so let's go find out how we can get that delivered. And so, yeah, the Marmalade stuff, I think we've come a long way. Personally, we've come a long way. It's a lot easier to work with. And honestly, give it another 3 to 6 months, and I think you'll see a lot more products on chain that are being built utilizing NFTs, because I'm seeing, and those developers come to me, and I don't share a lot of that, but those developers come to me and they're quietly building. And you're going to see some of them even compete with what I'm doing. I just love working on this stuff. So I don't care if you compete with me, I still help you. And I think that's what's important about having these community run things, having blockchain run, having LLC run things. And that intersection, I think, once we can solve that piece and bring in more users together, I think that's where we really win. And I mean, Mike, just go get a sports partnership, man. I don't know what the big deal is.
Well, what about this too?
Yeah, you just whip one of those out real fast.
Well,
Sounds
what if
good.
you guys, so we talk about not just the resale of tickets, but also verifying the authenticity of something. So I know we got a lot of big players, back, this was probably like 2000, gosh, it was probably 2007, because I think I brought, what is that Nike driver, like the L7, or there's, some golf driver that they come out with every 2 years, right? And I ordered one, and I went to the golf course with my dad and a couple of his buddies. One of his buddies had one, and I swung mine, and it sounded like I was hitting an aluminum baseball bat. And my dad's friends club didn't sound like that. So I had bought a fake Nike golf club, and this was like a week after they rolled out. It was so good that I ended up not playing golf. So I took it to a pawn shop and I pawned it, and they verified it. It was so good that the serial numbers, within a week of them coming off the assembly line on Nike, they're able to counterfeit the exact serial numbers and get them onto a club and sell them in America within a few weeks, so that the authenticity of something is huge. Now, I know personally, I've been looking into buying mining equipment, right? And I'm like, how do I know that this piece of mining equipment wasn't some knockoff made in some lab over in the Philippines versus in a factory in China where they're actually produced at? Have you guys ever looked at working with Bitmain or any of these mining companies to do some type of miner equipment authenticity verification, so that could be your proof of work concept for the real world, that you could take to somebody like Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Nike and say, hey, here's what we're doing. It's only a fraction of a penny to, add serial numbers to all your products and verify them via the blockchain. Is there any talks about anything like that going on?
So I've already done that. If you're familiar, if you're familiar with the NFTIF project that Tiffany and Co did with the CryptoPunks, God, when did we do that? A year ago. We sold $15.2 million worth of digital collectibles in 20 minutes. It was one of, if not the biggest sort of NFT story there was. So we worked with Yuga Labs. No, this was at a prior company.
Okay.
So there's a story that I was going for, but so the idea, right? So yes, certificates of authenticities, digital certificates of authenticities, regardless of what it is, right? Whether it's golf clubs, whether it's miners, whether it's high-end equipment, doesn't matter. Right? Some of that exists. There are lots of companies that are working on it. That whole counterfeit market, like, again, you mentioned it earlier, but that counterfeit market makes up billions and billions and billions of dollars in revenue. Yep. And, whether there's a royalty included or not, right? Companies are still spending tremendous amounts of money to try to fight this. We can solve today. Right. Again, my oldest daughter loves Jordans, like all teenage girls do. Right. So she buys all these shoes on StockX, and, she orders the shoes, and then the person ships it to StockX, and then StockX verifies it, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, and ships it back. Like, we've already built proof of concepts. We've already pitched this to companies like Tag Heuer. I've pitched this to companies like Jacob and Co. I've done this work with Tiffany. So it exists, right? The difference is that you have to build it into the workflow. You have to make it simple. You have to build it into their point of sale. So again, the beautiful part of this is we're only limited by our imagination. Like, what's possible with this technology? Like, we can sit here for hours and come up with different ideas for it, right? It's just the old narrative I always use around, the traditional internet, right? Like, we're at the Netscape stage of blockchain, right? Like, we are so far in our infancy. you're going to see a lot of this stuff come to play, right? I really do think that. I mean, mining stuff is a great example, right? Golf is a great example. Luxury goods is a great example. I had a conversation a handful of weeks back with a professional sports team that gives away tons of autographed merchandise, player autographed stuff to charity, right? They want to be able to track that stuff. Are these being transferred somewhere? Are they being sold on the secondary market, right? So there's all sorts of technology that can be built. The difference is going back half an hour to the decentralization and the scalability and the security and the decentralized nature of all of this. And, when you talk about something like Kadena, like the joke we always make is we could settle the whole entire, NASDAQ on our chain tomorrow and not break a sweat. And again, I think that's where we've got to do better, is telling that story, because the technology's there, the options exist. It's just sort of a timing thing of getting the decision makers comfortable with it and having them realize the benefits, of a chain like Kadena, where it has virtually no gas by design. So somebody made a comment earlier today. It transferred $7. They wanted to transfer $7 of Ethereum from one account to another, and the gas fees are going to be $24.
Got off easy.
$41 on Bitcoin last night. I onboarded somebody. I got my friend Hernando RC. He's a reporter for us at LFA TV, and I got him to buy his first $2,000 of Kadena. It cost me 0.00001 Kadena to send it to him. Bought him $1,000 worth of Flux. It cost me 25 cents in Flux, and I bought him $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, and it cost me $41 to transfer that Bitcoin off exchange. It's horrible. But that's what I mean. We all understand that about Bitcoin. Yeah.
As a miner, I thank you. You're my target audience, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Keep flipping those transactions up, man.
Yep.
I'll make like a penny a day or something. Yeah, it'd be great.
So let me jump back on one thing there. You had mentioned something about these NFTs and there being a partially centralized, which means it's 100% centralized. So can you enlighten us on that aspect? What part of these keys are the same keys that protect the blockchain? Can you kind of go over that so I have an understanding, so I'm not telling people the wrong thing?
Yeah, so the Marmalade ledger, you can fork it if you'd like, and some have. Certainly, even on what we consider Marmalade V1, projects forked it, and I think that's perfectly fine. The purpose of centralizing the ledger isn't to centralize the authority of it so much as now all of the wallets, all the applications have a central set of commands. It's unified, it's structured, it's always consistent, right? And so that's the trade-off, right? Now you can go, I honestly, in between you and I, most projects launch with 1 or 2 keys at most, and usually any key in that combination, even if they are using multi-sig, any key in that combination can sign for the transaction. And so when you look at the Marmalade ones, you can see it's a little different than like the coin contracts and some of the community improvement protocols and things like that, where once you deploy them, it requires a fork and it requires mining consensus to basically upgrade those, right? Well, I don't think you can upgrade them. You can't really upgrade them. You can just put a new version in there. And so it's protected, right? You can't hijack them. Those are super delicate contracts, like the coin contract, right? The namespace contract. So the Marmalade contract, the Marmalade ledgers, and it doesn't matter what flavor of anything you're using of Marmalade, there's going to be a central authority. So you have the ability to put as many keys in there as you want. And so you have V1, which is, I don't know, I'm going to get myself in trouble for this. I don't really care. You have V1, which is controlled by Kadena. And it's never had a problem, right? For years now, it's never had a problem. And it won't, because it's the same type of keys that control those other big contracts that could down our blockchain anyways, right? And so it is a little, less decentralized in that aspect. But again, that's what we talk about, like when we talk about that trilemma. What do you give up to get something? In this case, we're giving up a small bit of control so that we can have a nice unified approach to everything. You have V2, which is the same approach, right? You have a set of keys. It's multi-sig. It requires a couple signers, which is a good thing. And then you have NG, which is community owned, and it has a set of community signers. And I think you look at all of those things, you notice something important. Trust. Do you trust these signers? I would argue that there's as much trust in one set of keys as another. You either have the community signing for a contract, you have Kadena signing for a contract. What would be cool but very difficult is to blend those a little bit. And I could see it both ways, right? I could see it going both ways on that. But I have yet to run into a problem, and we're always transparent about what we do and very intentional about what we do. You can launch your own NFT standard. It'll just be impossible for anybody else to support it. And so that's the thing of we want adoption, right? We want people to be able to come on and feel safe and secure. That's the purpose of having that. One piece of it is centralized. Now, my policies can be my own policies. I can create all my policies. My royalty policy, I do royalties a little bit different because I'm an odd duck, where I actually create a new smart contract, point all my royalties to that, and then I can change it whenever I want. So if I told you I could take 5% of a royalty, that sends it to my contract every time. Now, my contract can split it to anybody I want, or it can just hold the balance right in the contract. And so that to me is like the coolest flexibility thing of, what do I do? How do I change my royalty address? How do I do this? You can't, right? You shouldn't be able to. It's once you mint an NFT, it's set. Well, you can have smart contracts that are like wallets on chain, and they can handle all that for you. And so once you start like peeling back, that's all my keys. Like Kadena has no control over that. The community has no control over that. That's not my keys. And so you give up a very small amount considering what you're gaining, in my opinion, is well worth it. And it's always been open. It's always been transparent. I think if people lied about it, that would be different. But I've never, ever since I've been here, ever heard anything to the contrary. And I've always preached that, look, it's the same damn keys that control our network. I would be more concerned about that piece of it than I would about this piece. But I get it too. I'm not dismissing the concern. But if you're like a decentralized maxi, there's not a blockchain for you. There just isn't. I mean, somebody has to run a blockchain. You can't not have somebody running it. Otherwise, I don't know how it would operate, right? How do you keep it running? How do you keep it funded? How do you keep it updated and all that? You have to have some type of central authority. It sucks, but as long as you trust that central authority, what's the, it's that little bit that keeps us going. And so to me, that's kind of, I take it back to like the beginning. Even Bitcoin has, somebody can fork it. You can still update there's things you could do, right? It's not like you can't. And so it's really important, I think, to remember that and to keep it as minimal as possible, which is where I think it is today. I hope that helps. I'm not trying to like screw you around it, but it's like an evolution, and it's in a good place right now.
Can't hear you, man.
I appreciate you, man. I like the honesty. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not telling, when I always gassing up Kadena. So there's a centralized aspect of this blockchain. So Kadena is never going to get to a point where it's just basically all the CEOs and everybody just walk away and Kadena's done. The layer one's built and should never change like Bitcoin. Or
you could look at it that way. I don't think it would get to that point. I think I would have to imagine there's a plan for transitioning that, right? I've heard talks of a DAO at some point that could govern that piece of it. But remember, we're not Bitcoin, right? We have a smart contract language that needs to be maintained, right? We're more like where Ethereum Foundation has to keep. If Ethereum Foundation shut down today, that chain will be toast. Right? There's no operating it tomorrow, right? They're done. Like money's out the door. And so you have to have a contingency plan. And so I'm not sure. I haven't seen what their updated plan is for a while. I haven't seen what Kadena's is, but that's probably a good thing, maybe in a couple of years to outline of like, hey, in 10 years, this is how we're going to transition. And this is why we're going to do it for continuity. I'm sure somebody's talked about it. I haven't seen it. But yeah, it wouldn't just stop. So all the miners, all the nodes, we could keep this network running just fine. But you do have to remember the dirty little thing about that is when you have a smart contract language, somebody still has to maintain that, in my opinion, because vulnerabilities do come out. Code does change. Updates do happen. And new things are figured out, right? Computers are getting smarter. AI is getting dangerous, and we got to fend off those robots and stuff. So it's seriously though, I'm not joking.
Yep.
Those things are real threats. They're coming faster than we'll realize it. But as long as you're prepared, blockchain's relatively secure. I'm happy about that. My keys are my keys. That doesn't change. And as long as enough nodes are running, we reach consensus, and we have enough miners running, we're safe still.
That's good.
At least for a while.
How are now? You had touched on something. You had said AI, and this is one of the main topics I wanted to get to. If I can right now teach Chat GPT, right? So when I do my show on LFA TV, I start at about 11 o'clock, and I spend the first hour just combing through all the news sites, and then I aggregate all of that information into basically one folder on my desktop, and then I go back to that folder and I sort through it and I take screenshots. I was able to, basically create an AI bot that goes and scrapes these specific websites, and then it cross-references the top of those keywords that are trending on Twitter and on Google in the last 24 hours, and it cross-references them, and it chronologically organizes those headings for me. So I just have to open this one folder and then screenshot 5 items and put them into my program, and boom, I basically have the start of my entire stream already built out by a bot. So these bots are getting so smart that they can do things like that. Pact is Turing incomplete. How far are we away from literally AI being able to build some of the most elite smart contract programs using Pact? Is that possible, or am I getting too excited?
So it's a ways away. It's not built for that yet. And you have to remember, it's not a Pact problem. It's an AI issue. AI is generally not meant to write secure, lengthy contracts, right? It's limited on context. It's limited on how much knowledge it can input and output. I'm sure, and I've seen some models that are very much dedicated to improving programming, but they don't get a lot of funding, right? And I think maybe this time next year, I'll probably be wrong, and I'm happy if I am. But I still think with a lot of the GPTs, they're still missing critical components. Now, you can teach your AI, you can teach yourself to prompt better, you can teach yourself all those things. I find that I actually code a lot faster than trying to teach my prompt how to do something simple. But if you ask it for, like, if you want to test and back test things and get like a quick, give me a 200 lines of code starter contract in Pact, use this contract, like the coin contract, as an example for how to format your calls to do a transfer, I bet you could have a working contract in not that long a time. Now, you know as well as I do that doesn't mean you know how to run that contract, right? That should be assumed, right? But if you're thinking about, like, it's getting better, right? But now sometimes I was using a tab 9. I like the little AI helpers for my code completion, so that as it starts learning my coding style, right, and it just completes stuff like mad. So I code so fast. I actually just switched over to Copilot, GitHub's Copilot, and I've been fighting switching this. Now, it's not ChatGPT, but it's basically, they're like the same damn thing. So in my mind, but when you use Copilot, it's so much better than going in, and you do need a coding foundation, but it just rapidly speeds up your coding. And so if you're doing a Pact contract, it does understand, and it looks at all my contracts in my repo, and it understands what's going on. And that's why it's so important for us to open source our code, because then it can steal it and learn from it and make it easier for somebody else. I think the stealing part sucks, but it does help, and that's why we open source things. And so to me, like, that's like the dream, is more people opening up their code, good quality code for the AI to learn against. And then at some point, I would really love to see it be able to audit our contracts, like an extra set of eyes. Hey, this is perfect, but if you do these 3 things, it'll make your contract a little more succinct, for example. And so that's where I'd like to see it personally. I don't know that you're going to get like a really good smart contract bot anytime soon. But people are spending billions on that stuff. So it's going to happen at some point, but I still think you're at least 12 months away, in my opinion, to seeing, like, check out this bot. It just does your whole stack for you. I know it's coming. I don't fear it. I plan on prompting the hell out of it and speeding up what I do, because that's what we do. We try to use all the tools we have at our disposal to go as fast as we can, as safe as we can. And I think that's where you're going to see that intersection start to cross over. is on the next kind of like big jump where AI can actually not be alive, but like can start making more decisions on its own and test its own code and run it in its own repository, or like have its own code repositories, run it against the blockchain. Imagine if it could run code against testnet or DevNet.
Yeah,
once you can do that, what if it could run REPL tests? If it can run REPL tests, I mean, what else do I need? It fails, it can fix it. Fail, fix, and eventually it'll get so smart that it'll just know. So,
and is that something specific to Kadena, because Kadena's Turing incomplete that it couldn't do on a looping coding language, or is there any advantage that Kadena will be easier to code in with Pact and AI versus another language?
I think if you gave the entire Pact backend in Haskell and the example contracts, like the critical example contracts, and you were able to really feed something that really really understood.
Stuart Hibbert, and we Neuralink him to some AI. I'm just kidding.
That would be cool. Or just let him code it, and it would probably be better anyways. But yeah, there's like something to be said about that. I've always wanted to just sit down with him and just get obliterated trying to code against him. That would be fun. But it's those things, like conceptually, I know what you're saying. We're just not there, and I don't know how they make that leap. But somebody's going to do it, and they're going to have a product that's like, I want a website, and it's like, what color shade of like color scheme do you want? And it gives you like 3 things to pick from. And then all of a sudden it's like this crazy complex thing that could run like a major search engine, for example. And so I think you'll get there, but it's going to be a while.
All right, Mike, let's jump back to you, my friend. And sorry, I want to be courteous of your guys' time. What is your guys' time stretch? How much longer do you got? I'm so excited to have you guys on. I could talk for another hour or half hour or whatever you guys got in you.
I can keep going, man.
Let's do it, man.
Amir's doing all the heavy lifting anyways, so it makes it easy.
Well, let's talk about the new projects that are building on Kadena. I know we had a lot of projects. Some came, some went, some are coming back, I see now. What does the overall developer landscape look as far as user adoption and new projects building? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think we're starting to see, a lot of different projects come in. There's some fun, interesting stuff there that, being built by, developers, guys like Amir, lots of different grantees coming in, looking for funding to bring different pieces of the ecosystem, whether that's NFTs and gaming and Internet of Things, whether it's, gambling with Kadena Bet, sort of their on-chain sports book, lots of different things coming down the pipeline. I mean, when I think of the things that gets me the most excited, right? Like I sort of mentioned earlier, the whole sort of DeFi landscape and the Hyperlane bridge and, native stable coins and those types of things. That to me is, a big sort of use case, fundamentally, technology wise that, is going to allow for a lot of other things. So, we're talking DEXs, we're talking, our bonding program, which is really more of a voting type governance deal. You guys mentioned the DAO earlier. We're definitely not going down that path, but, this governance program is going to be there. So there's a lot of things being built, man, lots and lots and lots of stuff. So, I mean, you've got a much better handle on, what's being built in the community. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, so I can give you a quick run. I was just writing notes because I'm going to butcher this, and I apologize already to everybody. But let me give you like the quickest rundown I can. So wallets, links, Koala, Echo, Zelcore, Chainweaver, Kadena Spire Keys coming, and
that'll replace Chainweaver.
Yep, and Pact.
What? Wait, what's going on with Chainweaver?
It's the end of life. It's going to get deprecated at some point, and a lot of us are going to come up with. We've got some tools, like we built tools that basically are just better to use from a developer standpoint because any wallet can connect and use them. And that's really the thing is like trying to just open, because Chainweaver itself, like if you use the IDE in there, it's not really an IDE. It was really cool. I think when it was the only option, But now we've got so much JavaScript code out there. We've got like a token generators and things like that are going to be coming on that use a similar style where you can go in and modify your code and submit it. But it's more purpose built for common users, not developers, because we do the coding for you. You just go and you execute, you tell us what you want, and then it just runs the transaction, and now you've got a contract on chain. So those are going to be, I think Kadena's working on something too. I don't want to spoil it if you guys are. I've heard rumblings, but that's about it.
So does that mean I got to go and dig my cold storage wallet out with in Chainweaver, and I have to get my Kadena off Chainweaver now? I
don't think it's turning off anytime soon.
No.
I don't think it could turn off anytime soon.
So my Chainweaver is going to be good forever, even after you guys stop upgrading it, modifying it. My coins will still be safe there?
Should still be fine. I have to go back and check with people way smarter than I. Yeah, I know the plan is Kadena Spire Key is sort of this multifaceted dev wallet, right? So the idea is it'll take everything that we built in Chainweaver to the next level, right? Sort of this whole WebAuthn technology that we've been showcasing, where you can actually use your fingerprint or face, ID to actually sign smart contracts. So there's going to be lots of different things built into it. So my guess is probably all the Chainweaver stuff will just move underneath that umbrella. But don't hold me to that. I'd have to ask the devs for more information there, but I don't think it's going away. I think it's just going to be absorbed under this new entity, or not entity, excuse me, this new product that we've got.
Awesome. That's good to know, man. I'm just such a fan of Chainweaver. It's you guys built it, so I always feel safe as keeping my Kadena on the wallet built by the team. Now, you had said something about a bridge called Hyperlane. I believe it was last time I interviewed Will. He had said that him and Stu had spent 2 years trying to do nothing but bridge in a safe and secure and decentralized way to the Ethereum blockchain. And he told me it was absolutely impossible to do in a safe and secure way. What has changed between that interview? I know that was almost 2 years ago now. So what has changed that has now allowed somebody to be able to bridge to Kadena from Ethereum in a safe and decentralized way? Or I shouldn't even say decentralized, but in a safe way.
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Amir, do you know that?
I don't know how much I want to share on that front, but I think,
yep.
I think for me, like there's code out there now that can be viewed. It's the quality of the teams that get engaged. It's the quality of honestly, it's not even the quality of we have Pact developers. We have a small community of Pact developers. We have some really, really, really good Pact developers. And at core, there's some really, really good, talented developers. And what you're missing is on different chains, right? What's the expertise level? And so you have Hyperlane, right, which has that expertise. They farm stuff out. Kadena farms stuff out. We farm stuff out. I farm stuff out to other people. Like we all farm stuff out, right? But it's more than just farming it out, right? You can't just go farm it out to anybody. You have to farm it out to a specialist, right? And in companies that focus on bridging for a reason. So if you find somebody who's been successful at doing this a few times, that have interacted with Ethereum, right? Now, the burden of proof, it's still a reputation hit if there's a problem. There's no question. But I feel a lot more comfortable going to a partner that's integrated 12 to 20 blockchains already without an issue to be able to make this bridge happen. And that's where it's tough going EVM to Pact because we're just not compatible, right? We're not. A lot of these other chains are EVM to EVM or EVM to something similar that was forked off of what Ethereum has done. And so yes, it is a lot easier to end to end. And I think what those guys were saying back then, I'm not ever going to try to put words in their mouth. I'm guessing it was probably more of we haven't found the right team to come in and execute this vision yet. And I believe that because as I look at code and as I look at how you even bridge that stuff, it's not easy, right? And you really have to have a good eye for security, and you really have to know like the pits of Ethereum or like Solidity and things like that. So that to me is
that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, I know that again. I'm not the technical guy, but I know that there's been conversations for a long, long time around, right? Hyperlane is the technology. IdeaSoft is actually the company that's building. So again, I can circle back and find out more information around that specific question for you, Ryan. Because again, I do think it's interesting. I wasn't aware of that conversation from a couple of years back. I know that we've been incredibly cautious of bridges. I know we've had lots of people, including some of those in the community, come to us and say, "Hey, we can build you a bridge." We want to make sure we do it the right way. We want to make sure that, all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, because again, security is the number one thing. So, I know that we're taking it very, very seriously, and it's taking a long time to put together, just because we've got one shot, right? You got one chance to make your first impression, and we want to make sure that it's as good as can be. So, this means, we're having independent auditors go through, we're having individual smart contract, developers go through, we're going to have the community, Amir, some of his colleagues go through, and really make sure we do it the right way. So I can circle back on the improbability of that happening and what's changed. But my guess is it probably just was, like Amir mentioned, right? It was probably just more of, we hadn't found the right partner yet.
Yeah. It's, I don't think I know a bridge that we've ever seen that hasn't been hacked from every ecosystem on every single blockchain. Literally every single one has been hacked. So I'm just curious on, are the same people that we trust that build these bridges, is there anyone that's built one that hasn't been hacked? No.
That's a
don't answer.
question.
I'm not answering
Yeah,
that. I don't have a good answer for you on that, because I'm not, it's an unfortunate, but that sucks, because it's an unfortunate side effect of, again, having to do everything perfect every time. And then a vulnerability comes out that you could have never predicted that tackles your contract. And it happens like wildfire, right? You have to shut down you have to stop production at the exact moment that that's found. And it's impractical, right? Yeah. It's not practical. I mean, the speed at which these black hat hackers can nail you is faster than any security system can stop. And there's some sophisticated ones out there. You better believe some of these DeFi protocols have invested in. I mean, it's cheaper to build that than to continue, sieving money out. So I think that even with multi-sig, even with different ways to guard things, it's still risky. But again, I think that's what those guys had to have been cautious about. And honestly, if we could do it Pact to Pact, I think it'd be different, because we can control it end to end. When you go from EVM, there's so many unknown variables in that contract language. And this is why it's important for your team to have continuity, because when they do find vulnerabilities, you have to be able to patch them quickly, right? And so those things all go really hand in hand. And I would say, that's a big team. They're a well-funded team, on that side of the house, and they do their best. But again, they bring this issue up all the time. And I haven't heard Hyperlane having an issue. I know IdeaSoft is implementing it, or they're integrating it, but the technology is the technology, and they've got a blueprint for how to connect, and that's what's protected, right?
Now, what about, I know when Will was on the show, we had talked about having a centralized party. What happened to somebody like Coin Metro, or somebody, my ideal would be Flux? I mean, they're already communicating to every blockchain. It seems like it would be such a massive value add for their team to try to do, even if it was just a stable coin, man, and you could, stake whatever in exchange for a stable coin, and then bring that stable coin to interact in the Kadena ecosystem, so you didn't have to necessarily, sell your Ethereum to get over into the Kadena ecosystem, or something along the lines of a centralized bridge between Zelcore and the Kadena blockchain. Is there any talks about that? And then my next question on that, the follow would be, I've heard that there's a lot of issues going on with Kadena projects and the Zelcore wallet, to the point where people are like, that build on Kadena are like, I'm not even updating my code to communicate with Zelcore anymore, because there's constantly issues. What are those issues, Amir? Maybe you can touch on those a little bit.
Well, hopefully Dan doesn't listen to this, but he'll probably shoot me. But,
I love Dan. I love Dan.
I know he's
going to be on tomorrow, actually. I'm going to ask him the same thing.
Tell him this. They're using the old signing API. They're using nodes sometimes that don't work. and they're not using QuickSign, which is like I use QuickSign all the time. So in my apps, it's a non-starter for me. I have to like block people from using it because if you want to do secure, complex transactions, they're multi-step transactions or they're different guarded transactions, you need QuickSign. NFTs at this point all require it. And it's important. It's to keep this stuff safe. It's to keep sales secure. It's to let us do escrow things. It's to let us put something up for auction securely where we know when you buy it or a sale, we know that the funds are going where they are. I think it's tremendous. It's how we support cross-chain with transactions and stuff like that. So at some point from a user experience, we're going to need that anyways. And unfortunately, they just had a lot of issues with stability. And it is what it is. I would tell their team the same thing, and I would recommend solving the things I just said, and then they'll be on par with everybody else. That's as simple as it is. Get QuickSign, use the newest Sign API, fix your node situation, and you're good. And then we can all integrate it again and document your API so people actually know how to use it. I know how to use it because I know how to use it. I don't know how I know how to use it. I just tinkered with it until it worked. And so, and that's a different issue, I think. But for the most part, if we could get them, I've offered to help because there's a lot of people in our community that interact with Flux a lot, but I can never seem to get like traction with it. And so I'm not a wallet developer, but I do understand how those mechanics work. So if they have a wallet developer, it would make sense to bring them in, talk with the Kadena devs, talk with one of the other wallet devs and, get that situated, or talk with me and I'll help where I can. And to me, it's a win. And the point of, so we have ZUSD on Zelcore. It is a bridged asset right now. You can mint ZUSD. The challenge is, again, you have to use Zelcore to do it. And that's not a true stable to me. That's not a true bridged asset in the sense that a DEX can just go use it, right? You have to go through the mechanics of using Zelcore, and traditionally it's been a challenge. And so I would recommend those guys reach out and not in a negative way, just reach out and let's get it fixed. I mean, if you could give them any feedback, just come hit us up. I mean, Dan knows how to reach me in Telegram or Discord, so any of those guys can.
We're going to make that happen for sure, man.
Yeah.
Because
I know as a retail user, no, that's awesome. I mean, I will say, right, like I've had some just personal wallet issues with Zelcore, and like their support is second to none. I mean, they hopped in, they're helping me out, they're asking questions. So, I do definitely give them props for that. So super, super receptive on the support side, but yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. Zelcore I just think it's one of the awesomest wallets as far as onboarding new users, where you can communicate. I don't have to have like I just said, I onboarded my friend Hernando yesterday. I was able to put Bitcoin, I was able to put Kadena, and I was able to put Flux in there. And I was also able to send all three of those out of that wallet as well. So I was actually, people were like, oh yeah, I can't get my Kadena out of Zelcore. And I just upped my gas price in it, and it worked the first time. I have noticed that for some reason, Zelcore, I have to pay a little bit higher of a gas fee than using a different wallet. I don't know why. And I probably just put mine way up more than I need to. I could probably just move it up in increments until I found that sweet spot, but I just go way over the top just so I don't have to deal with it. But we had talked a little bit about, and I had such a good question there for you, and I lost my train of thought again. I get rambling and I completely forget. But I had, it was about the DeFi aspect of it. I don't know. Amir, do you have something you wanna add to that?
On DeFi itself?
Yeah, and just talk for a second, and then I'll. I had a really good question I wanted to ask you. I just need some time to think about it for a second.
Oh, it's fine. I can freestyle. So the one thing I'd love to be able to pitch to the Kadena team directly is DeFi on chain, right? But seriously though, I think, and I made this comment the other day because I like fishing for stuff, and Mike knows that. Because I do sometimes know a little bit more, so I am a little cautious about like. I don't want to gotcha anybody, but as soon as I see a code update on GitHub, I'll got you all day long because that's public. Right now it's public. Just because the public's not looking doesn't mean it's not there. So to me, like if you don't want that to be public, then don't make GitHub open, right? But it's cool. So I can see in real time that changes or things are coming because I monitor that. Other developers, we all share, like we all monitor different things, and so somebody else may catch something that I don't, and so we're so quick, and it's probably annoying, but we're so quick to see these things. And so for me, I've had a couple conversations recently with different people at Kadena, different people in the community, kind of what people want. I can't build it all, but I think having the ability to have like a Uniswap v3 kind of functioning on chain would be really neat. I think that having stables on chain would be really neat, and I think those come along with the bridge. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure those come along with the bridge, and that's why I'm like, let's get that damn bridge in here. So let's get going on this. And so then people like me, I built a little product, and I'm not here to pitch my stuff, but I will pitch what Squeegee did, which is awesome. Is they had a contract, like a reusable contract, and we turned it into a bonding contract. And so I've got a coin coming out, or a token coming out. It's called Herron Heroes. It is what it is. And so you got to check it out, herronheroes.com. Squeegee made a cool site, and it's just a website. It's just really cool. But what you can do is I refuse to do pre-sales. There's nobody getting any free stuff out of that. But it's a community token. The whole purpose is a community token. It supports burning. It supports transaction fees natively in the token. You can't bypass them unless we allow you to. And liquidity things and things like that can be bypassed. But what's important about that is it's not DeFi. However, we can lock funds, distribute tokens, just like a bonding program, just like a staking program, if you hold liquidity for a certain period of time. That helps our token. It's a utility token with like a meme theme, and poor Mike is part of that meme theme, so he's going to just have so much fun with this. But really, the idea is to have a fun community project, and that's what I built Telegram bots for, where you can generate images that are themed. We'll have contests. There's a game in there where you actually create your own avatar, and that's your entry fee into the game, and that keeps us out of like legal trouble because we actually have utility coming out of this thing. And the whole purpose is to just give us something fun to do. Now, that being said, if you think about what we're doing, there's a purpose to everything we do. We're showing you different ways on chain how to do these things securely. So the expectation is somebody else can come and steal that. And then and then the next thing I'm going to work on is an iteration of that that's even more tied into a DEX, where I want to fork one of the DEXs and actually build this alongside them and see who wants to implement it, right? I don't know that I want to do all that for free. It is what it is because it's a lot of work. But I also like giving examples to people to at least get them started. And so I may just do that. I may do that while I stream, just as like a fun thing to do, just because people want to see that stuff because it's crazy and I get to talk about it. But on the DeFi space, that's the kind of stuff I think we need innovation. We absolutely need it. We have a chain built for it. We just need to innovate on it now. We need people to come in who could do that math and can do those types of things to really bring some cool tricks to Kadena. And that's how I feel about it, at least.
Well, I mean, I agree completely with what you're saying. I mean, DeFi is one of, if not the most important thing for us in 2024. I mean, again, Herron's Heroes, and I'm honored you chose my namesake for your meme coin, and I don't get any of it unless I buy it. So thank you.
That's right.
Right, but like the bridge, like you said, Amir, right? Like it does unlock so much other stuff, right? And yes, we need to be innovative, but we also need those fundamentals, right? So it's going to allow us really to sort of, connect to Ethereum, and the other sort of top ecosystems. But it's really, the bridge is the tip of the iceberg, right? Like everybody's like, when bridge. But like it literally unlocks so much stuff. It unlocks, DEX listings, lending, staking, bonding, native stable coins, real oracles. So there's so much there. And again, it's just this other room we're building. So again, I do think that it's going to bring tons of activity into the ecosystem, and then it's going to allow, more fun, innovative stuff like you just mentioned. So, we're excited for DeFi. There's going to be a lot coming out from us. And I know the community's been asking for it, and we're really excited to be working, along sort of side them on that vision. But yeah, it's going to be, DeFi is going to be a huge narrative for us in the very, very near future.
That site is so well put together. Whoever built and designed that website, gosh damn, man. If this was altcoin season 2021, you would have been able to raise about $2 billion market cap on a meme coin with a site like this, man. Wow, that's super good, dude. Did you build that? You designed that site?
Squeegee does our front end work. I do the back end stuff. So the Pact, and I can code websites.
Holy cow!
We did that was like 2-day project for him. Like 2 days. Put that up in 2 days. Mm-hmm. He's crazy. He's crazy good. He's crazy good.
That just blew my mind, man.
Yep. I love working with them.
So easy to use. I can't wait to get back into interacting with this ecosystem. I remembered that question. So let's take a trip back to, when was it? 2022? Was it around Christmas time? When everybody started getting a notification saying, do not use your Phantom wallet. Comes to find out, Phantom had been broadcasting everybody's private keys across the network for eons, and 9,000 Phantom wallets were completely drained. So where I'm going with this is we have a lot of new wallets coming to Kadena. What is the Kadena team doing? And is there a way for them to showcase what happened to the Solana wallets and showcase the new, or people like me that are getting back into the ecosystem and are very, very leery of using these new wallets, that can never happen and that our keys are never going to be broadcasted anywhere and nobody has access to our keys?
So if you want to feel safe, there's two things I would say. Pick a wallet that's open source. You can have it verified yourself, right? Now, not everybody's going to go be able to do that. Don't get me wrong, but there's something powerful to be said about that. You can see if they're unlocking your keys and transmitting them. The nice thing that it just blows a lot of these other chains, it just blows them away, is the capabilities, right? So that's like that next step of the evolution, right? Where, all right, let's protect our keys. That's sacred. That's like a sacred bond. You cannot mess with those. But now, if I connect to your website, you just cannot wallet drain me unless you're being an idiot, right? And you allow them to do it. Like, you have to sign off that they're going to drain your damn wallet. And if you do that, there's no protection on earth for you. You're going to eventually fail yourself, right?
Hold on, wait. You said that. Hold on. You said that the wallets, if I accidentally connect to some random project, that my wallet cannot get drained unless I actually go and sign that transaction as they're trying to drain it.
That's right. There's nothing they can do.
Oh, dude, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It's a very powerful feature. It's built in. Yeah.
You know how much money you're going to save new people on Kadena? You know how many people like reached out to me and was like, oh, I just got my wallet drained. I'm like, and I did this forever. And I was sitting there, I forget what we were aping into, some crap coin on Solana or something. And I fell for the, hey, it was an NFT project where I had to give them, like, they had to verify my wallet, right? And in order to verify it, they were asking for my private keys. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to create a new wallet, right? I'm not going to give them access to my main wallet. I'm going to create a new wallet, in which I did. And in the process of doing that, the first time I tried to, I would have given them the keys to that wallet, right? And then he's like, oh, you have to have money in your wallet so we can verify that you have mony in your wallet. I'm like, no. That's when all the alarms started going off. So before I put any money into it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get scammed here. But I don't blame people that are new to this industry that are like, oh yeah, this is new. They don't know right from wrong. And they're like, yeah, I just have to sign it in on my computer. I'm not actually handing them over. They don't realize that as soon as they do that, they're literally recording that and they're taking your keys and unlocking your wallet, and then it's gone. But
can I circle back on something real quick?
Yeah,
because so I get people are like, hey man, what the f is going on? Like, why didn't you say this? I'm like, okay, I'm trying to like keep going, right? It's absolutely true, and it's so important. Like the Pact stuff, like just how powerful it is and what it can do and how we scale. And it's gonna be funny because it's something I talk about too, and I love it. Just because Pact is different and unique from like Solidity and some of the other languages, it's extremely fast. It's extremely powerful. It's extremely easy to learn compared to Solidity, in my opinion. So even though there's more literature, there's more people learning Solidity and all those things because it's where all the liquidity is and all the people are going there, right? Because a lot of people, that's their first entry point. That's what they hear about. They're like, ooh, Ethereum, I can go make my NFT collection there and sell it for $1 billion, right? But if you actually set people down, because I've learned both. I actually, now I have more time in Pact, but I didn't for a long time. Pact was a lot easier to pick up. It was a lot easier to pick up. And it's not because it's human readable. I don't know that it's that so much as when you're looking at the language and the Turing incomplete, I think it actually makes that easier, right? Because there's not this complex structure where I have to stop things and start things and map out. I know sequence of events and I know rollback. And once you figure that out and you figure out capabilities, it's a table database design. If you know basic table databases and schemas, It's a very easy language to work with. It's very, very easy. And so I think that that's actually probably a selling point that I'm shamefully admitting that I probably should sell a little bit better myself. And then the other thing for gas, because this is all that I see on my feed right now, and I'm frankly sick of seeing it, because there's plenty of chains that solve this, right? Not just Kadena, there's plenty, but Ethereum still, like, people doing $400 transactions. That's insane.
Wild, dude.
Like, that is just insane.
Nuts.
That will never need to happen here, because we do scale horizontally. And again, it goes back to that conversation of there's different technologies we can use to help make that stay efficient. And so to me, I apologize because I know I need to be doing a better job of this myself. Those are very important things. And I thought it was just important to get those back out there and kind of clarify to anybody listening that those are, like, if you're going to go side by side and you want to learn a smart contract language, and we actually have that opportunity for people, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for newer developers. And it's a great opportunity for people who want projects that don't want to pay all of their project funds in gas fees so that they can have users. So,
you know, I spent, I don't know how long I was getting on YouTube, maybe about 2 or 3 days of just consuming how to code in Solidity videos, because I wanted to teach myself how to write smart contracts in Solidity. And literally after 3 days of, like, trying to pull my hair out, I couldn't even comprehend it. I spent about a week going through Kadena, and in one day, you guys can come over and watch this video. My 8-year-old son, that's Mason, at 8 years old, in 10 minutes was able to follow by himself, without me actually telling him what to do, just instructions on a screen, was able to write a smart contract and execute a smart contract on the Kadena blockchain in under 10 minutes. And this, I did it raw. So this video, I cut out like one little part in the end, but 9 minutes and 26 seconds. And my son was able to write a smart contract in Pact. And I would put that up against anybody's 8-year-old son on any blockchain in less than 10 minutes. Can you teach your son how to write a smart contract? I don't think it's possible. I think that world record is going to stay for until somebody's 7-year-old writes one in Pact, but
battle of the 8-year-olds. Let's do it.
I'm smarter than a 5th grader.
Many require you to have compilers and compile your own code and do your own testing and come up with your own test plans, and those kind of things. And you just throw up REPL, just throw up DevNet. I mean, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. It's just as good, in my opinion, being able to go through and complete a REPL test with Pact, add formal verification. I don't really know what else you need to do at that point. You can launch your app on DevNet and test it offline, or throw it on testnet, but, like, it's painfully easy once you get the flow and the process down. If you take a few minutes to learn those fundamentals, that's an important piece. People like to skip from point A to, like, point D and then go right to Z, instead of learning that, like, A through C, which is, like, the core fundamentals. Once you get them, I mean, it's just awesome.
Now, one other thing that we haven't touched on, and maybe Mike, you can touch on this a little bit from, not just a developer standpoint, but a legal standpoint. Kadena, I believe at this point, is the only blockchain. And, I'm getting really burnt here. I used to be able to say Kadena is the only one for everything, and Amir is just like, nope, now other blockchains are doing it. Now other blockchains are doing it. Like,
okay, that's okay. That's
all
okay,
right,
though.
But Kadena is Kadena still the only blockchain with human readable smart contract code that attorneys and lawyers, can you talk a little bit about what it means to have human readable code outside of a developer standpoint, Mike?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I could say for certainty that it's the only one. Amir would probably say no, which is totally cool. I mean, the initial understanding, right, is, like, we tried to make it simple, right? Our attorneys, our accountants, right? Those types of folks, myself even, right? You look at a piece of code and half the time you have no idea what the hell it's trying to do. And with Pact, right, it is human readable. It does make sense. If you have a basic, simple understanding of what you're trying to accomplish, you can actually look at it. You can actually understand it. And it goes back to your point around, like, it just makes sense. There are very few people, Amir would probably tell me I'm wrong, but there are very few people I've ever talked to that have, like, are Solidity developers that actually come into the ecosystem and they learn Pact and they're like, yeah, this isn't great. I'm just going to use Solidity. Like, there's other reasons, but never because like Pact isn't necessarily superior to it in some way, shape, or form. And I think it just goes back to sort of, Stuart, our CEO, right? Like his vision for this was sort of Haskell based, human readable. Like, again, I mean, we can send smart contracts over to our attorneys who clearly are not developers, and, they can get a simple understanding of what we're trying to accomplish with it.
Man, that's huge. Amir, you want to touch on that a little bit?
I'm going to go a different direction. I've had this argument, human readable isn't necessarily, to me as a developer, I can read them, right? If you look at some of my code, it ain't human readable. Like, other developers don't know what the hell I'm doing sometimes. There's a couple, the ones who do are usually like core developers or people who've been doing it for a couple of years now. And so you get to that point, you get to that evolutionary step where human readable is great and the basics, the schemas and stuff are all readable. And if you're doing your formal verification, a lot of that is human readable, which is really cool. What's even more important, in my opinion, isn't that piece of it. It's when you go to sign a transaction. Can you understand what you're sending? The way we format commands, yes, you can. And to me, that's like the epitome of what human readable should really stand for. Isn't necessarily, can I read all this code? Because it's subjective, right? My code is difficult to read. Some of it's easy, and that's intentional, but some of it's really complex, right? And some people have more complex code. I can read it because I've been in it long enough now. But I would say from a user standpoint, it's really cool because I know what I'm signing. My capabilities that I'm signing tell me I'm moving funds from this wallet to this wallet. Do I agree? Yes. Okay, gas, whatever. I don't care about that. Here's my command. You can parse the command and show exactly what it's doing. And so that, to me, is what human readable really stands for. I think if you look at your schemas, you look at the basics of a smart contract, anybody should be able to understand that. If you can't understand what a table is, okay, it's not going to be easy for you. But if you can understand what a table is in Excel, in old Access databases, it's the same thing. It's like looking at an Excel spreadsheet. I have a column header with data. That's it. So if you can understand that, it's human readable. And that's good enough in my opinion. I don't expect people to be able to look at a function that's like this. I don't know where my other hand went, but this massively big, right? And I don't expect them to understand that, but I do expect them to be able to understand what they're signing for. And that, to me, is what's so critical to be human readable. And that's the take I always give on it. I see both sides, and I'm sure that's not the full take that they want, that they envision. But as a developer, as a user, I think it's powerful to say, I know what I'm signing. Mm-hmm. It's really good feature.
Yeah. Well, this is the perfect dichotomy between old Kadena and new Kadena, mm-hmm. right? Old Kadena was all about builders and engineers mm-hmm. and the tech side, right? New Kadena brings the retail investors in where mm-hmm. we can have different narratives of what human readable means to mm-hmm. both sides of the conversation. So it's why, Amir is so important to this sort of ecosystem, because he can take and, help push the, developer focused piece of it. And, the retail investors can have that more Mike Herron one level down understanding of, hey, I don't necessarily know all of the other technical stuff that you guys are able to go deep on. So, it's really about telling the right story to the right person. So it's good when there's multiple narratives like this.
So I guess we're almost going on that 2-hour mark, man. I really appreciate your time. So maybe we'll just wrap it up here with like a couple last questions. I'll give this one to you, Mike. So going into this bull run, I see that you guys are reaching out to a lot of influencers. You guys are bringing on new partnerships. That's going to help really, really grow the community. What are like the top 5 priorities that you have going over the next 6 months leading into this next bull run? I think myself anyways, I know that we got the halving coming up and we got an election cycle, which means they're going to be pumping tons of liquidity into the market. We might have that one black swan event that they try to get out of the way right now to suck some of that liquidity out. But after that, I think it's print, which means if we don't get that crash, bottom was well in for everything in this. I think bottom was already in anyways, but maybe we get that 50% pullback like we do every single Bitcoin cycle right around the time of the halving, and then it skyrockets up to a new all-time high. What are you if the bull run's already started and we got 2 years from today, what are your top priorities for like the next 6 months and then going into the next year to onboard as many people as possible into the Kadena ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, right? And, From a marketing perspective, it's really about storytelling, right? It's having these conversations. It's getting influencers to work with us to, really help tell the story. I mean, one of the things that brought me here was the fact that the story we had was amazing. Nobody had just taken the time to really tell it the right way. So, when I think of, these 5 things over the next 6 months, use cases is going to be big. I've been very open and transparent on using sports partnerships to drive adoption. I've dropped, a couple of tidbits about that. I've got 2 contracts that we're working through right now with 2 global sports organizations that are going to be pretty mind blowing once I can get those done, and they take some time. So, using stuff like that to bring, again, more of the retail investor piece in, more content around technology, again, flipping that sort of conversation and that narrative over to the developer side. Like I mentioned, right, like getting more people into the Pact ecosystem and teaching them more about that is going to be huge. Getting people to learn about Chainweb, right? Like Chainweb Chainweb goes hand in hand, in my opinion, with Pact as far as the secret sauce. There's been a ton of conversation in the community about Chainweb recently. There was a guy, Alp or Tansel, that put this great sort of tidbit together around Chainweb and, breaking down the white paper and how it's scaled and all that other stuff. So like, we want to dive deeper into that, right? We want to make sure that we've got, all the information out there. So we're telling this good fundamental story. We want to, keep working through that stuff. We've actually got a blog coming out, the blog post coming out this week. That'll be a little content series around how Chainweb scales and some use cases around how that can really make a difference. So there's a lot there. More transparency. We want to have those hard conversations. We have a new series coming out that's going to be hosted by Stuart and Will. And we're calling it Kadena Transparency Report. There's been a lot of conversation in the community, people asking questions, right? We shut down sort of the old Kadena eco, so that's going to be this sort of quarterly, report sort of state of the business that Stuart and Will are doing. So, address community concerns, right? Be more transparent, have these harder conversations. No topic is sort of off the table. So, that paired with Academy, paired with the DeFi roadmap, lots more partnerships, lots more, ecosystem events, right? Like really trying to push this narrative around DeFi and just being present, showing up every day and trying to put the work in and showing people that, we are human. And, that's sort of what we're here and what we care about. So it's going to be a lot of storytelling. It's going to be a lot of repetitive, trying to fill the top of that funnel, getting people into the ecosystem and then getting them to take an action. So whether it's learning more about Chainweb, learning more about Pact, implementing this new Kadena Spire Key product, which is really revolutionary, finding ways for people to use their KDA. We have this theory of, KDA everywhere. So, but more than that, right? It's preparing for the future. It's looking forward and, how can we give sort of the power back to the people to use this technology for what they want? I mean, that's really sort of what drives us and gets us up in the morning. Is it's not about what we can do with it, right? It's about what your kids can do with it. It's about, what your grandkids can do with it to really change this sort of world for the better. So it's pie in the sky aspirational, but that's sort of a legacy that we want to be a part of and we want to try to leave. So again, your son at 8 can write Pact. Hopefully that's a good sign for the future.
And now, when you talk about these sports partnerships, can you break down for some of the people in the audience who may not understand, how does that result in more adoption? Are we talking about like players wearing jerseys and people are going to see it? Like we watched crypto.com kind of do that, and it kind of backfired in them a little bit. What kind of partnerships are these, and how does that result in more adoption for Kadena?
Definitely. So this is not about, when we talk about sports partnerships, we're not talking about like logos in stadiums. We're not talking about logos on jerseys. We're talking about partnering with these brands to build products, right? We're talking about, fan experience. We're talking about, digitization of assets. We're talking about, all of those things we sort of referenced earlier when it comes to, how do we handle ticketing? How do we handle gamification of different things? Fantasy sports. I had pitched a really revolutionary sort of fantasy sports blockchain game, to some folks in the NFL. Right. And so again, I mean, we're working and talking through that sort of stuff. So again, this isn't, I've utilized sports my whole entire career to tell more complex stories in means that people can understand. So this is about adoption, right? This is about building cool shit. This is about getting people to use things. And this isn't getting people to use things in the way that we know it as crypto native, right? This isn't about wallets. This isn't about any of that. This is about, fiat on-ramps and Web2 experiences, because the early adopters, right, make up like 12 to 14% of most industries, right? So this is really focused on the remaining sort of 60, 70% that still exists. So again, it's about changing the conversation and bringing these cool ideas into the sports world. And then again, making it scalable and repeatable. So you're not talking about one team or one organization. You're talking about multiple. It's about building things that are repeatable. So I can take it from this team or this organization to this team, to this team, to this team. And the fact of the matter is they want it. They don't understand it. But if somebody comes in like us that really gets why it's important and can tell that story and really sell them on, this is the next wave of the future, and you don't have to have incredibly crypto savvy folks that can engage, they get really excited, right? Kadena Spire Key is a huge Trojan horse for us, because you show that, which I have, to executives at these professional sports teams. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, we don't have to do this. It can be in our app. It can be on our .com, right? Like, we don't have to have wallets and MetaMask and all this other stuff. Like, you see their eyes get big and they get it. So we're only interested in building cool shit. We'll just put it that way.
Let's go, Mike. Man, great answer. I'm going to throw this back to Amir then. Amir, this was teeing me up perfectly. Can you break down Spire Key for us? I've heard of it. I've heard little bits and pieces about it, but I know nobody, or most of my audience probably doesn't understand why this is so revolutionary. What is it? How does it work? And why is it so important for Kadena?
So to me, it's just that next step, right? And we have wallets. I love wallets. I've made no bones about that. I love working with wallets. The cool thing is, so we also have encryption devices. We also have YubiKeys, we have our phones, we have our laptops, we have devices with hardware encryption. And basically, we're able to leverage those things with what Spire Key does, right? And I don't know, from a practical standpoint, how you jump from a normal wallet to that yet. I'm glad I don't have to solve that piece of it. I just integrated and get to play around with it. But really, if I walked you through it, it's, you can go to Spire Key, which is a wallet, in my opinion. It's just a website you go to, and you can register a device. You can choose how many devices need to sign a transaction. So it's got like multi-chain or multi-sig built into it, like a completely different approach to it, which is really cool. That's what I would consider something that's a little more revolutionary. And now I can take that wallet anywhere. I can take it from my phone. I can go and I can sign a transaction on your website without ever having to open up my wallet and interact with a seed phrase or anything like that. I just use my biometrics. I use my face. I use different markers. And so it's just, and you can use those things to sign into a wallet, but it's still different. It's not like the Fort Knox feel. It's more like a Web 2 feel to it. And I think that's what the team's going for, from what I can see. We're still early in the game, and there's still some things that are subject to change. But from what I've seen, is I actually did a quick demo of it earlier. I think it was like a minute video, because I connected it to one of my apps that I'm working on. And it's very simple to work with. And what you do is you go in, you register your wallet. I registered it to my laptop. So my laptop, I press my button on my laptop, my Mac, and that's what secures it. So then it sends me back to my website. It's a web wallet, so it sends me right back to where I was. And then I can go and I actually craft a transaction where I'm like, I want to send 5 KDA from me to Mike. And then I want to sign it. Sends me back to sign it to the web wallet, returns it, my transaction sent, if everything checks out. That's it. I mean, it's like, people were like, what just happened? Like, it's done already. And I'm like, yeah, it's like instant, right? And so it's like a wallet experience, right? It feels like that when you sign in a wallet, it's very instant, right? And so the thing that's different is all the steps before that and all the steps after it. It's just there. It's just ready to go. And so it's almost like it's just always ready to go. And so it's kind of a cool experience. And I'm not sure what I'll be able to integrate it into, but you can bet that I'm going to, and I'm going to record myself doing it just for fun, just like I do with Wallet Connect all the time. But really, that's it, right? It's meant to be easier. I want to see, companies and other people maybe taking a look at that angle. If you were trying to onboard more users, I don't know that you'll get like crazy hardcore people. I don't think they're going to care about that. But if you want to go to like the low touch people or the no touch people, that's like a really great target audience because they don't really know that they're interacting with crypto. And if you take the money aspect out of it for a second and just think about like my passwordless authentication, right? You could think about it as passwordless authentication. It doesn't require a password. It's just in your biometrics, and it's a very secure way to do it. It's basically got built-in multi-factor, which is very difficult to break, right? It's being secured by keys that are very difficult to break, just like a normal wallet would give you. And so to me, it kind of encompasses a lot of that with a very, very, very simple like user experience, which I think is pretty cool. A lot of the feedback I got was like, I can't believe how quick that was. Like, they were expecting like clunky and going from page to page to page, but it was just like boom, 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 done. And I was actually kind of surprised. Now, sending a transaction, that still takes what the time it takes. That still takes, a block has to go through. You're still talking to 30 seconds, but I was actually impressed with it. I had a couple of fits and starts. Those were my own faults because I like to do things the hard way at first, always. But once
he goes
I
from
actually
A to
listened,
D to Z. He said it earlier.
I skipped A through D and I just went to F, me, and I go to F, M, and E. So F, M, and L is usually how I go. So that's usually my approach, and then I go back and I'm a rational human after I initially give myself like shell shock. But but seriously, like some of the developers they jumped in and they're like, hey, try this, hey, try this, hey, try this. I was still working through it myself, and I usually like to do that first. But then I actually adopted some of what Albert did, which I think he's a tremendous developer, a tremendous JavaScript developer. And I mean, these guys are really good, and you don't find a lot of them. So I like the solution. I hope that kind of like summarizes it. It's just a cool, easy, simple solution to a very, very complex problem. I like to just sign in. I created my wallet with my fingerprint. I go and I sign with my fingerprint, and that's as difficult as it was.
Well, the thing that I love, though, too, from just the non-technical side is, we're so attached to these things, right? And when I sign in, I use my thumbprint. I'm so used to it using my Face ID, right? Like all of that information is stored on the hardware, right? So we're not storing this information anywhere, right? There is no security issues because you're already trusting Samsung or Apple or whoever else device you use, right? Like they're securing it for you already. We're doing the same exact thing. So, it does make it simple. I mean, you just, again, you open it up, you want a wallet, you put your thumbprint on, you've got a wallet, you want to sign with it, you just use your thumbprint. So, it goes back to this bigger narrative. You said human readable earlier, right? And we're talking about building these experiences that are easier for people that aren't the 12 to 14% of early adopters to use. And this is something, Ryan, that like your parents could use, right? This is something your grandmother can use, right? She's used to holding the phone up to open it up when she first gets on it. So again, it's about making it easy for people, right? It's about great UX and really, really simple design. And, it's exciting. I know that Randy and team just presented this and did this huge demonstration over in, I think it was Amsterdam last week with 3,000 developers there. And I mean, actually more than that. I think there were 9,000 developers. Anyways, there were a shit ton of developers, and these people were going crazy. And they're Web 2 developers. A lot of them have seen this already, but they've never seen it with the smart contract blockchain side. So it's just sort of about blending those two worlds. And I give a lot of kudos and props to that team. I mean, I know how much they busted their butt, and it was sort of Will's baby at first, but it's come a long way, and it's going to be a differentiator for us for sure, especially when we start talking more about these sports partnerships where you're trying to onboard people at mass and not just sort of the early adopter wallet users. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how that goes and where we can take it.
Can I show you this for like 2 seconds?
I see you over there. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I just want to go.
Look at this. Look at this.
So your screen's being shown right now. So just so you know. So what do you explain? Can you start? Oh, wait. Can you start over and walk us through the steps so that we understand, like the people that are listening can see what you're doing and why it's so important?
Yeah. All right. I'll start from scratch. So this is just one of the sites I'm working on. And so normal wallets. So this supports basically every wallet. Wallet Connect covers everything else. So I added Kadena Spire Key, which I got to fix that. And basically, once you click that, it's just like when you're going to go connect to your wallet, you have to pick your account. This is the same thing. So here, if I didn't have an account, it would say register, and then you would register an account. So I have an account on my laptop right now. It's as simple as it is. This is the account it picked up for me. So I hit login. I'm now connected to my wallet. So now I want to go create a command that I need to sign. So I add all this, and then I want to go sign for it, which creates a transaction that I'm signing for now. And that's it. So if you want like human, you can parse this to make it human readable, which is what I'm working on right now. And basically this is a transaction that I'm signing with my Chrome or my computer. So boom, right there. It's coming right back to my site. Now look, right there, transaction is signed.
Right there.
The transaction signed, all I got to do is submit it now to the blockchain.
Yep.
And then it's done.
So literally just with your thumb.
Yep. So yeah, you can just. So, and the reason I'm showing that is like, this isn't like Kadena didn't do any of this. I built all this in over the weekend I built this. And so it's not like it was like a huge investment of time. I've got a lot to clean up and I want to make it prettier. I want to show it a little bit better. So there's all those kind of things, but really the initial connection, I think took me 15 minutes to actually get the wallet connected. And then a couple hours to get the transaction stuff like where I wanted it, where I was happy. It's because I'm not a great front end dev. It takes me a little bit longer, but I know how it works. And so at a deep level, that's the experience that I think we're going for. And again, some of the wallets give it a tremendous experience too. But this is different. This is just a different audience we're targeting now. And to me, if everything can align perfectly on this, there's a great opportunity to be able to talk to companies that want a wallet experience without a wallet. That's a common thing that I was always used to. I come from a banking background. They eat this stuff up. Like this is the stuff that they love because they're looking for consolidation. They're looking for secure practices. They're looking for how do we securely, start working on getting crypto in here. It's taboo still, but here's a way to do it. You don't have to have 50 wallets for your banking application. You can just do one, and then we can kind of work through the process.
You should see the leads that came through from last week if you want to talk about Web2 companies being excited about it.
I'm sure. So
yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
That's a game changer. Gentlemen, I've taken so much of your time. I mean, I honestly, I want to keep going. I want to understand. Stuart had talked a little bit about how they're actually utilizing Bitcoin and how Kadena is making the Bitcoin blockchain better. I would love to invite either of you gentlemen back on the show anytime you guys want. You guys are always welcome. We're going to be doing these shows every night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I told everybody I was advertising that I was going to take calls at 10:30, but it's a new show, so I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'm gonna hang out with the audience here for a little bit. Is there anything else that I missed that you guys wanted to cover? Anything exciting coming up in the pipeline? Any events that you guys are going to be at?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to drop a little bit of info back there, as we were talking. Obviously, check out our socials, join our Telegram. We're constantly talking about stuff. Old Kadena was hard to find. We are easy to find. We are transparent to a fault sometimes, myself included. So, feel free to ask questions. We're here. We understand everybody's in an interesting spot, right? We want to make sure that we're being open and honest about stuff. But we're here, right? Like we're showing up every day. We're putting the time in, and Ryan, just thank you for everything you've done for the community over these last couple of years, and welcome back. And I'm thrilled I'm here. You kept me up on a Monday night later than I've been up in a very long time. I'm old, but yeah, it was definitely worth it. So I appreciate everything, man. Really do.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for coming on. And everybody's links are all down in the show notes in the description. The Kadena website, Mike's Instagram, Mike's Twitter, Amir's Twitter. Amir, how about you? I know you're working on a lot. Tell us about what projects you're working on, what projects you're most excited, where people can find you, what the best way to see your code is. Tell us about your GitHub. I wish I would have shared it below, but maybe you can tell us what your GitHub is if you want people to follow and see your work.
Yeah. So my GitHub is github.com/ it's my corp name, so DAPL Corp. I might actually change it to be my Twitter handle at some point. I might have one on there, but it's D as in dog, A as in apple, P as in Paul, L as in Larry, and then just the 4-letter corp. I think I've got maybe 20 repos that are open. I've got about 48 that are going to be open. I'm just going through, and I've got a doc site that I'm working on. And I've linked it on Twitter, and I'll continue like every couple of days to update people on that. It's Kadena-docs. Read the docs. And that's a pretty cool resource. It's going to have a lot of tutorials that are more geared for easy, quick picking up and actually learning, what Pact is and how you can quickly use it. And then it explains all of the code that I'm working on. So project-wise, the next thing that's going to get dropped here any day now is going to be Herron Heroes, which is our token. We just got our tests done, and I mean, at this point, it's just me mulling what day we want to do it. So I'm excited for that. We've got the Kadena Marketplace. There's some new features that'll hit at some point here soon, but a lot of it's really focused on we're going to get Herron Heroes running. A lot of it's with Telegram bots, which I think are pretty fun, and Discord bots that are going to have little games in them, ways to interact. I love interacting with the blockchain through Telegram and Discord. It's very easy, and I'm going to be giving more code like that. I've given it to other projects. I'm going to give them more code like that so that you can integrate your Kadena projects into the blockchain, sign commands right through Telegram, Discord. So to me, some of that's not just my project, that's me working on things that are shareable for others. And I think that's very important. I think that's good, healthy for the community. There's actually a couple projects that are coming up here. I'm excited for some of the people I work with, Wolfies. I'm really excited to see what those guys come out with their game. We've got our Kings collection with KDA bets that's coming out here, or that just minted. That's cool. We've got a lot of little projects like that are starting to kind of materialize. There's a lot of tokens. I'd be careful with those for what it's worth. And Swarms. I'm a part of Swarms. We DAO Maker, and we're going to continue improving. We've got a vision for what Swarms 2.0 looks like. I think Mike maybe even knows some of what we've talked about, and really it's like an evolution of what we're doing. There's also Echo DAO, which I think is really cool. I've been able to help kind of go through their platform and see what they're doing, to be able to help provide feedback. And I think it's really important because while I am working with other projects, I think it's really important to get that feedback wherever you can and give them good quality feedback. And they've got a tremendous product. I'm looking forward to that. I think it fills a good niche. I think that Swarms fills a good niche. They may cross over a bit, but they are different. And I like extending it to Twitter, so you'll see more of that. I love Twitter integration, so you're going to see a lot more of that coming out here. That's kind of like the big stuff for me. There's a lot of other stuff. I don't know if I'm supposed to share it, but there's a lot of little projects that we're working on.
So much.
There's just so much, and so I'm trying to nail this. The Herron Heroes launches was a lot of work. People don't realize it. When you actually pay attention to your code and you audit your code and you go through it, you find mistakes that other people have made, and then you fix them. And now hopefully people will use our contracts. But the token generator stuff that we've got, the IDE that we've got, that's going to be popular in my opinion. I think people are going to really like that because it's like a open Zeppelin feel. Like you just go in there, you tell it what you need, and then you sign the transaction, and your token's deployed on all 20 chains. We've got the bonding contract that can go with it. We got staking, all that kind of stuff, and so people are going to love that stuff. I hope people realize like one-touch tools is all I care about. I've made that always clear. It's like I want one touch, one click, simple. So that's what we're going for.
And what is the official launch date on that?
Well, it's been ready for a while. A couple of people have used it, but it's kind of pending. We're probably gonna put a whole project plan together for that because it's really big and it's not just that piece. There's a lot that goes into it. It's kind of like a mini ecosystem tool all by itself. So we're actually gonna have some type of utility token that goes along with that. And I think that one will probably have a sale, like an official sale, so we can actually like run the company. So I think to me, that's like the most important thing, is to see if we can actually run a company, which goes back to getting more users, getting investors in here, having products that people want to invest in. And so that's kind of what we're going to be showcasing, is we're not just messing around here. Like, we have actual products. I just completely blank because I'm an idiot sometimes, but the tax tool I just made, I made a tax tool. So taxes.kadena.com. You can just go in there and put in your wallet and get your tax history. Now, we do charge because the data is not free. However, it's a flat fee, and basically it starts from the Genesis block of the blockchain. So if you've made a transaction, it's got it in there. You can link different wallets and stuff in there, and it's actually really easy. I did that project.
This is what he does in his free time, Ryan.
Yeah,
Jeez,
yeah.
So, geez, man.
And it's done.
Can I
It's
just
launched.
invest
It
in
works.
you? Can I buy some Amir coin or something and just let you do your thing, man? So,
I
The
need
Amir
to
Army,
monetize
that's
what
my
I'm doing.
coin I'm making.
I am terrible at monetizing my time. I'm honestly very bad at it. But I do like to build stuff, and so I'm working on. Whenever I talk about money, I hate it because it's taboo, but it is necessary to operate things. And
absolutely,
I just want to at least break even, and then we'll go from there. So that's a happy place for me.
I told you I'd buy dinner on Thursday. What more do you want?
I got my corporate card. I'll just use that. Nobody buys and pays. No, nobody can buy me, Mike. You know that.
I'll buy you dinner.
Well,
we literally have so much. I told him, we have so much stuff going on. We were talking on Telegram today. I'm like, dude, I can't. I don't have time for this. Let's just meet sometime this week and we'll talk about it in person. He's like, all right, pick a time and a place, and we'll be there. So much,
man. I feel you guys, man. Oh, Amir, I'd love to have you. If you guys want to come on and do an official launch party, I would love to put an event together for you. If you guys want to come on, that'd be a blast, man. I think the community would have a fun time, and maybe we'll take some live calls and do some giveaways, and mint some. Are you guys gonna be minting NFTs too that day?
People can mint their own NFTs all they want, so we can mint some too. But yeah, the whole point is you can go mint what you want. So there's rewards for whoever makes the coolest one. So.
Oh, now we're getting ready to have some fun. Cool. Gentlemen,
exactly.
It's an honor to have both you guys on the show. Everybody that's watching, please consider swinging down to the show notes and following both of these gentlemen on Twitter when it comes to the Kadena ecosystem. As you can tell, these are the gentlemen that you guys are going to want to be following. So God bless both you gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the Crypto War Room. We appreciate it. Have a great day, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
God bless you guys. All right, folks, let's keep this show going. It's our first show back over here on the Crypto Breakdown. I don't even have stuff set up for the live chat, so just give me a few seconds. Let's pull up the live chat. You guys want to take some calls? I haven't done this before, so let's throw it out there. Here's the number. We got a new Google Voice number set up. The calls should come. Wait for it. Give me a second. Yeah, they should come through the Roadcaster. We're not going to field any of these. You want to be a dick? By all means, let's fucking have a good time. You want to have a cool conversation and talk about crypto, give the phone a ring and let's see what the hell happens, folks. And then I'll get the chart set up here. You guys want to talk about Bitcoin? You guys want to talk about some coins? I'm down with it. We'll roll for maybe like another hour. Eventually, I'm going to cut these tight. So it'll be the first hour will be interviews. And then the second hour will be live calls, maybe even bringing on more guests or just bullshit. I don't know. We're going to build this show out as we go. So let's get the live chat up here first. That's probably the top priority. And then we'll kind of come over here and kick it with y'all. I need to figure out how to set this up so I can see it properly. Let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. Mr. K, good to see everybody.
Caller.
Oh, here we go. Shit, I don't know if that's on Google Voice or not. Shit. Hello? Hello? Oh, no, that was a collect call. I'm like, uh-oh. Why is it not coming through Google Voice? Nope, that wasn't it. That didn't come through the speakers, though, for some reason.
Unknown caller.
Hello? Hello? Hello, who's this?
Ryan.
Yes.
Ryan, it's Ruth Hartsock, Ruth 55 on Rumble.
Hey Ruth, how are you? Hold on, you're not coming through my phone, so just give me 1 second. Let me figure out how to get you coming through the speakers here.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Bluetooth, main mix. Let's see, why is it not coming through my ears now? It's so weird. I have you connected to my thing, but it's not coming through as far as calls. Huh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know it's not coming through the speaker. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second. I'm gonna get this figured out though. We're gonna make it work here in a second. Let me go back into my settings, make sure I am connected. I should be connected and it should be going out to my board, but it's not for some reason. All right, Ruth. Let me actually, I'm gonna take this call. Let me schedule these calls for another time and we'll do it. I need to practice and figure out how to get it was ringing on there. I could hear it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I answered, oh, maybe it's because I put it on speaker. Oh, there we go. How about this? How about that, Ruth? Can you say something?
Hello?
Yes, there you are. Now you're coming through.
All right.
All right, we can hear Ruth. How are you, Ruth?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to hear from you. Thank you for calling. Why don't we do like maybe like a 2 or 3 minute, ask a couple questions, and then we'll take the next call.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of I don't know much about crypto.
Okay.
What is that?
So are you asking like what is crypto in general? Just to give you just like a general overview of crypto?
Yeah.
So crypto is and there's all different types of crypto, right? So I would say the first thing that you should do as somebody that's new, assuming you have Netflix or access to YouTube and you have the ability, obviously you're obviously watching us on a Rumble or on YouTube. There's several Bitcoin documentaries. This is the best place to start for any new beginner, in my personal opinion. Netflix is free. YouTube has them free. There's a documentary called Banking on Bitcoin. That's what got my interest peaked. But cryptocurrency specifically, we'll talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized form of currency. It is a ledger of transactions. It's immutable money. And it can never be, there will never be more than 21 of these Bitcoin ever mined. Now, they're a digital version of, think about it like gold, because gold, you don't really go to the coffee store and, buy your cup of coffee with gold. Gold is something that you put your money into for a store of value, right? Like right now, if you went out in your backyard and you dug a hole and you buried $1 million and you decided you wanted to leave that wealth, the wealth that you've accumulated over these years, over your lifetime, and you want to pass that down to your great-great-grandchildren. You want to bury it in a hole and put $1 million in there. Right now, just right now, and this is with the USA when we used to win wars, right? And obviously that's changing. If you left your grandkids $1 million at a debasement value of 7%, which is a known fact that our government is printing so much money, they are devaluing the dollar at 7% per year. That means that things are getting 7% more expensive every single year. And it's year on year. So it's not like 7% and then it goes to 14%. It's 7 on top of 7 on top of 7 on top of 7. So you're exponentially devaluing your currency to the point where $1 million today, 100 years from now, will only be able to buy your great-great-grandchildren $890 worth of stuff, $891 to be exact. So if you're working and you're saving in dollars, there is no way for you to preserve that wealth. So they've created this thing called Bitcoin. It's 15 years old. And it is, every government around the world has tried to stop it. Every hacker that's extremely talented has tried to hack it. Every, fake news media outlet has tried to smear it and destroy it, and they've all failed. And now we're at a point where we're seeing countries like El Salvador adopting the Bitcoin standard and making Bitcoin legal tender. And if you take a look at our founding fathers, let's go with Thomas Jefferson, for example. Actually, I think it was Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, it was Honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln, who said, if you ever let a company or a corporation control the wealth of your nation, your children will wake up homeless on the streets that their founding fathers fought to conquer. How many people in this live chat right now are on the verge of being bankrupt, on the verge of being homeless? Because if they are, I mean, that should never happen. We should never have given a company or a corporation the ability to control the wealth of our nation. So Bitcoin is a way for you to take that back from the government and pass wealth on to your kids or your great grandkids, where if you go and buy, $1,000 worth of Bitcoin today, I guarantee you, I would bet my own life on it that Bitcoin 5 years from now is worth more than it was when you bought it today. Which means that as our government prints more money, right? The price of value, the value of Bitcoin inflates because it has a finite supply. And as the dollar devalues, Bitcoin gains in value. So it's really a gift that's been given to the world. It's not something that you're going to understand in one phone call or one conversation, but you will, if you spend 40 hours, this is what I tell everybody, and I've told everybody this for a very, very long time. If you spend 40 hours watching these documentaries like I just told you, it doesn't matter your age, as long as you have the ability to retain information, after 40 hours, you're really going to have a good understanding what Bitcoin is and how it works and why it's so important. And then from there, it's about 120 hours for you, for any person, doesn't matter your age, your race, your color, to understand how to interact with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin blockchain. I have Crypto Granny. I don't know her exact age. I believe she's 90, I want to say 93, 91, 97. And she's active in all of these ecosystems. She has wallets. She knows how to trade crypto. So there's no limitation to it. It's a little bit difficult to learn. And there's a lot of ways to do it easily if you're, not tech savvy. And again, it's, if you're saving dollars in a bank, you're going to lose everything if you don't make a decision on how to protect your wealth. And, we've seen what's going on in New York City, right? Like if you had real estate in New York City, I mean, there's now illegal immigrants that have broken into this country and were brought into this country by our government, paid it for with your tax dollars, that are now breaking into people's rental properties. And if, say you're out of town for a month or a couple months, you go to Florida and you have a property that's, a couple months old, there's illegal immigrants that have broken into this country that don't even have citizenship here, that are now living in Americans' homes, and these Americans can't get them out of their property. So a lot of people are going, oh, I buy real estate. Okay, that's great. Where's your real estate at? Is it in New York? Because you're probably pretty screwed. Is it in California? You're really effed, So this is what Bitcoin is. It's just digital property in the most layman of terms. It's digital property that no government can inflate away, no government can devalue, and no government can ever take from you. Unless you choose to hand over your keys, nobody can take this asset from you. And that's something really powerful. I hope that explains it.
It does to some extent. Have to watch the documentary on that. But anyway, I know it's about time for me to go. But I want you to know I so appreciate you all that you're doing to show us where the illegals are. I know they're here in Topeka, Kansas. I know they're in Jefferson, they're in 30. I sent you pictures on X. But I know that they're in Topeka, Kansas too. Our governor has said she would love for them to come and she would get them employment. She's a Democrat. So I'm going to let you go so you can talk to more people. But I love what you're doing. Okay.
God bless you, Ruth. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Bye.
Call from
Victor Matthew.
Oh, whoever just was calling, call back again. Who is that? Baker Matthew. I meant to answer that one. Yeah, I think this is it.
Hello.
Hey, this is Ryan, the Crypto War Room.
Hey, Ryan. How's it going, man?
Good. What's going on? Who am I speaking with?
Good. Hey, just FYI, I've been watching you for a long time, man, and a big fan, and really appreciate what you're doing for, especially the Kadena ecosystem. I think that, your live streams are great, and welcome back, man.
Hey, man, thanks. It's an honor to be here, man. Thank you guys for welcoming me back, man. We might not have left on the best of terms,
100%.
man, but I've always loved you guys, man. Kadena's where my
Cool,
heart
man.
is.
Well, yeah. So I'll dive straight into the question. I think that Mike is so glad that he's part of the marketing. That he's the CMO now for Kadena, and taking a lot of great strides. And really looking forward to the future of Kadena. I think it's just phenomenal what they're working on, and just so much progress. Just this live stream right here was very inspiring and exciting. And they've mentioned, for example, the financial markets, like how Kadena could bring them, could be used for the future of the financial markets, such as like the NASDAQ, right? Stuff like that. What do you think are some of the roadblocks, or some of the, what's the path in the future for Kadena to actually onboard such a gigantic, undertaking to actually make that happen?
I think it comes from the complete failure or collapse of our current system. I think that's the only way that it comes about, because you're talking about, all the dark money and all the illegal things that take place on the traditional stock market. I think it was the 08 financial crisis that came to be because they were, these dark pools, or whatever they call them, these shadow banks. And the fact that it takes, 7 days? Like, if they shut down the stock market today, it would take them 7 days to try to determine who owns what. So I think it was Lehman Brothers or one of these big banks, right? They were selling, and people were buying and trading shares that just didn't exist, because they weren't settling till the end of it takes 7 days for something to settle. And in that amount of time, they were issuing new shares, and there were extra shares here and shares in shadow banks. So when everybody started to cash out, all of a sudden there was this abundance of shares. I mean, if you're selling something, or you're making counterfeit money, for example, you can imagine when you go to, convert your dollars to gold, if they were still backed by gold, and then somebody just printed all these extra dollars, there wouldn't be enough gold in the bank. So that's what happened with the shadow banks. And all of a sudden there was this basically giant collapse of the system. And it's because there were shares in the system that shouldn't have been there. And I think everybody's kind of waking up and realizing, we thought, I was raised anyways, go to school, get a good job, put your money into a 401k. And now people are really starting to wake up going, why am I giving my money to somebody else, and then they're charging me a fee so that they can go and make more money? It doesn't logically make sense. So I think that we're gonna watch this shift of failure from traditional finance systems, whether that's the next financial crisis, or they just print money into oblivion. At some point, the shoe's going to drop. And when it does, I think that there's enough people awake now.
It will. Yep.
But yeah, so what do you think?
I think in regards to that specific question, time will tell, right? But I am very interested in it. I think that Kadena is really the best blockchain so far built to take something like that on, right? I do think that we're due for a massive correction, right, with credit card, the credit card crisis that we're currently looking at, that is not being talked about by the big media. And it's just the home prices, and just like you were saying, right, like a lot of people are on the verge of homelessness or have become homeless, or people can't keep up with the bills. That just everything is just the inflation itself that is being improperly and irresponsibly reported. I think that something big is going to happen in the future, and I guess that leads me to my second and final question for you: is what do you think? How do you think that Bitcoin and also the crypto/blockchain ecosystem or markets is going to react to, let's say, a massive financial, especially when you're talking about the stock market and everything else that comes with a crash like that? How do you think they're going to react? Do you think that they're going to crash simultaneously together, and then crypto is going to rebound first, or just be the only one to rebound? How do you kind of, if you had to take a wild guess, how would you see it kind of unfolding?
That would be exactly what I'm doing. Is I would be taking a huge guess. I don't know, because it's an election season, and it's pretty cool to think about the fact that you know, a Bitcoin halving takes place in the same year as an election cycle. So every politician right now is you know, doing everything they can to attempt to get themselves reelected, which I think we're in a little bit different of a time right now, where we're all under the assumption that every single election that we've had since 2016 to the most part has been rigged. That's why we heard so much about the Russian collusion, and that's all being exposed. I just reported on it today. You know, the 2016 election, they rigged it. And that's why they were all this Russia, because they couldn't believe that even with them rigging the election, that Donald Trump still won. So, you know, it's just, they're going to print money. I don't see them now that they have, you know, this is a lot different than 08. And not just different in the way that, like, they saw what happened in 08 and they've put protection and guardrails. Like, the Fed now has a trading desk directly on Wall Street. So when the Fed needs to inject liquidity into a market, they not only have access to do so, but they have the tools and resources from BlackRock. You know, that every single banking crisis that's happened so far in the last year, the BlackRock was the person that they went to. And BlackRock has that software, Aladdin, which can basically analyze, and it monitors every single trade, it monitors every single asset, it monitors real world inputs, and then it makes predictions about where the markets are going to go. And it's almost 100% right 100% of the time, because they actually have the money and liquidity and the ability to move those markets. So this machine says, you know, basically you put, you know, $10 billion here, you will move this asset by 3% over the next 7 days, right? Like, that's how advanced these systems are. So the Fed now has all these guardrails that prevent, you know, basically a liquidity crisis from happening, because there's never going to be a lender of last resort. The Fed always has the ability to buy them out. So do I think that they crash the market? If anything, like, I think it's going to be some type of black swan event, which it's looking like it would be a cyber attack, which would probably be the worst case for us here in America. You know, the fact that our power grids are so vulnerable, and literally a couple migrants with a long rifle can shut down entire cities, maybe even states, if they did it simultaneously and at the right time. And man, I think that that's the only way that this comes down, but I almost don't think they're going to do it. I think that they're going to pump this market so hard, they're going to inject so much liquidity, and they're going to do everything they can to print and spend as much money as humanly possible until they get Donald Trump in office. I mean, it's a perfect setup, right? It's, you know, you pump the markets as hard as you can until Trump comes in here. And then if he wins the election, you pull that rug and you collapse this country, and you make his 4 years of presidency just completely miserable, where his hands are so tied because the country's so bankrupt that he can't even actually execute on his policies. And then you try to rig the 2028 election, and then you take the country back and you finish, you know, as Biden says, finish the job. But that would be my best guess, man, is I think we're at a point where, you know, the reverse repo's been drained, and they have no choice but to continue to print, because we're in a debt-based cycle, and the bubble's got to pop at some time. But I think that they have enough tools and resources to ride it all the way into the 2024 election, would be my best guess. And maybe it doesn't even happen, you know. Yeah, maybe they would wait till Trump's in there to do it, but I don't think that they let that peaceful transition of power. If I was them, I would wait till Trump wins the election, and then in that grace period between November and December, I would collapse the markets, or maybe I would do it right before the election. If it's overwhelmingly obvious that Trump's going to win, maybe they collapse them right before, going into like October, so that the civil unrest, I mean, just imagine, people are already so upset with this government. What happens if you cut them off from their bank, and you do that back in October, like right before an election season? I mean, it would be complete anarchy. Or you kill power to a city like New York in the middle of summer, when people are up in their skyscrapers and it's, you know, 110 or 120 degrees in your 1-bedroom loft apartment, and then all of a sudden after 2 days the sewage isn't working, so then now you're stuck in literally a shit box, you know, 90 stories in the high at 120 degrees. It would force everybody into the streets. And then you're going to do that with having 20 million illegal immigrants. Are you kidding me? Everything that's happening right now is chaos. The only safe place you have is to put your capital into Bitcoin, which leads me back to that question is, you know, if a collapse starts to happen, I think people run to Bitcoin. I think it's overwhelmingly obvious that everybody that told us Bitcoin bad is the Elizabeth Warrens, the Peter Schiffs, the scumbags that have been stabbing us in the back and selling out our country for forever. And that would be it, man. I'll quit talking, man. I'm rambling.
I appreciate the answer. You know what? Let's try and wrap it back to Kadena just for one final and short question.
Yeah, man. I don't have anybody else calling in, so keep it going.
Aside from security and also speed, if you had to like pump people up about Kadena, especially people that don't know about Kadena, how would you do it? Like, what would you say is the coolest thing about Kadena and why it's just going to be the next big thing in blockchain and crypto technology, and why it actually is, has benefits compared to Ethereum, Solana, and all the other ones, right? Like, why is Kadena so awesome?
It's funny. I was trying to figure out, the true decentralized aspect of the Kadena blockchain, and just the fact that Kadena's blockchain is proof of work, and blockchains are not designed to go down. When a blockchain stops running, it's broken. Blockchains don't stop running, right? Because when they're not running, there's nobody auditing the blockchain in real time. So the fact that Kadena can scale and it can onboard unlimited amounts of users, which if we, for people that don't understand, your blockchain is just data. So if I take a look at my phone is a terabyte. And if I take another phone and put another phone next to it, which I got right here, right? Let's just say that this phone is 1 gig and this phone is 1 gig. These are blocks on a blockchain. How do I do this here? Let me go back to my front camera. It'll be easier. So these are both blocks on a blockchain. Each phone can hold 1 gigabit of data. Let's just say one transaction is 1 kilobit. And let's say there's 1 kilobits in a gigabit, right? That means I can fit 1,000 transactions in this phone. Well, after this block is full, right? If there's over 1,000, those transactions go to the mempool and they wait to get put into the next block, right? So if I'm in that waiting pool, right, just like Uber, right, is the Uber driver going to go, take the ride that's offering $5, or is the Uber ride going to take the ride that's offering $20? He's going to pick up the person that's offering $20, right? It's going to happen every time. So when you're at a blockchain, it's happened with Solana, it's happened with Avalanche, it happens with Cardano, it happens with every shit coin out there because they can't scale. Kadena is the only blockchain that can scale. So what happens is you have a bunch of people waiting in the Uber rideshare trying to get into the next Uber, but in the time that it takes them to wait for the car to pull up, 20 more people came over, and all these people are ballers and they just offered to pay more. So they just stand there in that Uber pool for 8 hours outside of EDC trying to get a ride for under $300 and they can't do it, right? Same thing with Kadena. I mean, we've seen Solana or Avalanche block fees hit like $10 or $15, right? Because they have 3 chains trying to basically mitigate this issue. And their 3-chain architecture was never going to work in the first place. The 3-chain Avalanche architecture was going to do just that. Eventually it was going to hit capacity, but it allowed Avalanche to scale to a point where they had a $20 billion market cap before we realized that they can't scale. So to put that into layman terms, again, Kadena is the only blockchain that can scale. And they scale because of how they braided their chains together. And that's the real secret sauce. You heard Mike and everybody talking about it, is Chainweb. Each time you have a Bitcoin blockchain, like if Bitcoin wanted to run 2 blockchains and braid those chains together and connect them together, when you connect the chain together, you have to store 1 transaction from each chain in each chain. So if I connect 2 chains together, I got to store 2 transactions. I connect 3 chains, I connect 4 chains, I connect 5 chains, right? All of a sudden, you connect 100 blockchains together, right? Now in every block, right, the first part of that block is 100 transactions. So those 100 transactions there are stuck in that block, in every one, which is great if you could do it with 1,000 chains. But you talk to the Kadena team, we're talking about having thousands of chains. So if each block can only hold 1,000 transactions and I connect 1,000 chains together, you don't have a blockchain because every block is just filled with that 1 transaction from the previous chain. Kadena uses a Chainweb architecture. Ooh, this will be fun. Give me 1 second. Let's try this out. Maybe I can just do it right on that. No, give me 1 second. Oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Now we're really gonna get to have some fun here. Check this shit out. All right, here we go. So let's see if you guys can see that. Oh, you can. I'll get a better one. I'll get one that automatically comes down. So if you take a look at a star, hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to try to draw it. Can you guys see that? No, you won't be able to see it. I'll have to get bigger markers. So let me just color this one in and make this so it's really easy for everybody to see on here. Probably be easier for me to pull up one of my old PowerPoints. But if I take a look at this star right here, right? And let's just say that this is 1, and this is 2, and this is 3, and 4. I can't write backwards. And 5. You guys got that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you notice on a star, right? 1 connects to 3, 3 connects to 5, and 5 connects to 2. I cannot go from 1 to 2. I have to go from 1 to 3, over to 5, back over to 2. Or I can go from 1 down to 4, over to 2. So what you see here is you are 1, 2, 3 hops away, or I'm 1, 2 hops away, right? Which means the Kadena blockchain right now has, and they have a weird star architecture. So imagine if I drew like a star over a star. They're able to connect 10 blockchains, and the farthest chain is only 3 hops away, which means they figured out a way to braid these blockchains together, and they're storing the hash, only 3 hashes, right, in one block. So every time a block is minted on the Kadena blockchain, it has 3 transactions in it, but they have 20 chains connected together because of the star architecture, and they call it the graph degree diameter problem. Man, it's been so long. But yeah, I think it's the graph degree diameter problem, graph theory degree diameter problem, something like that. But it's graph theory where they can scale exponentially by only storing a few transactions. So that basically in layman terms means I can now run or connect 1,000 Ethereum blockchains and have them running side by side simultaneously. So where the Ethereum block only has 1 block, and that 1 block can hold 1 megabit of transactions, right? And you can only print a block onto chain every so fast on a proof of work blockchain. I think it's like, what is it? Maybe like 3 seconds to up to 10 minutes is your max time. But the Kadena blockchain, anytime they want to scale up, right now they only have 20 chains connected together. They're able to scale. The next time is going to go to 50, then to 100, then to 1,000. And all of a sudden you have 1,000 Bitcoin blockchains running side by side, or Ethereum blockchains running side by side that are proof of work that can scale infinitely, and they use less electricity than 1 Bitcoin blockchain. And it's called the Peterson's graph. Ron, 17 KDA, my man. That is it, folks. That's how it's done. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, it's remarkable technology design. Listen, man, thank you for your time, and so glad you're back. Just absolutely thrilled, and looking forward to your next live stream soon. So
hey,
thank
man,
you so much.
Appreciate it. Where can everybody follow you on social media?
The French Viking.
Friend Viking, will you shoot me a DM on X, and I'll share your link over here in the Telegram or in the live chat.
100%, man. I will. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
God bless you, man. Thank you. Oh, that's fun, folks. Yeah, we can take calls. One of the guys at my work's asking where I can buy Kadena. Yeah, you guys want to call in? Feel free. The line is open, friends. Oh, here we go.
Unknown caller.
Press 1. To send a voicemail, press.
Hey, Ron, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Ron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I really enjoyed the show, and really excited that you're back in the community.
Hey, man, it's an honor to be here, man. Thank you guys for welcoming me back. I appreciate that big time.
Of course, for sure. Well, it's cool to talk to you. I'll go ahead and ask you a couple questions.
Tear it up, my friend. I'm all ears.
First off, I just kind of wanted to know, are you going to be jumping into the community, kind of diving into the ecosystem, maybe checking out some of these projects?
Yes, absolutely, man. I'm gonna try to do things a little bit different this year. I'm gonna give everybody an opportunity. I think one of my biggest mistakes the last bull run, the last cycle, was probably thinking I knew more than I should, or thinking that just because I didn't see value in something, somebody else wouldn't see value in it. And I think I missed out and I left a lot of money on the table. So I think I'm going to keep more of an open mind. I do have a little bit bigger of a bankroll. So I guess, you know, I've always said, my bar tab theory before, where, you know, my bar tab at the time was, you know, a couple $100, but I have a little bit more money now. So I think I just want to have fun, and I want to get to know everybody, and I want to talk about every project, you know, the Shibas of the world that made, you know, I was just playing a video on Twitter and in the Telegram, you know, a month ago, and I was the first person to find Shiba. Very first person. I actually think that if you were an investigator and you're trying to figure out who created Shiba, you should go back to that first live stream and try to see. I mean, it's super blurry, but if you could find out who shared that coin in that chat, then not only shared that coin, somebody made a video of it and shared it on YouTube. And it's like to the day. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, Shiba's 10xing. So, like, how stupid of me for the first person to find Shiba and to not throw a bar tab at it, where, you know, now I think I just need to, man, you find one of these coins and you throw $1,000 at it, or even if you throw 100 at it, you know, and it does 100x. I mean, that's just fucking nuts. The upside is so there, and it's just mind blowing to me, the projects in this industry that just, you know, like Trump coin right now. My buddy Sean at LFA TV is in MAGA coin, and he was telling me about it again here, like right when it launched. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get a unit, you know, I'm not going to try to hook back up my MetaMask and get some ETH and try to buy into this crap coin that's never going to go anywhere. The thing's up like 200x since he's messaged me. And this was like a month ago. And I'm like, gosh, damn it. We'll be talking about that on Thursday, man. So yeah, I'm all open to getting in these communities. I want to bring people on the show. I want to interview people. I want to pretty much any project building on Kadena. If you guys want to come and do a giveaway for the community, I'm willing to interview anybody, and do everything I can to help support this ecosystem, because we need everybody, even the shit projects, even the scammers, even the rug pulls, right? Like, every little bit of adoption, and the more people we can get over here. Obviously, you don't want more rug pulls than, you know, you got regular projects, but they're going to happen. And then, you know, just being able to educate, and it's also a learning experience when people get rug pulled, right? We all did it. You know, there's going to be a million more Moon Boys out there this next cycle. Everybody's going to be a crypto expert, and and it's going to be a fun ride, man. So yeah, that's long answer short. Yes, I'm going to be very active in the community. I'm going to be trying to do these shows as often as I can. Definitely Monday through Thursday. I will be traveling this summer. I'm about to go to 8 different countries. I'm about to go embed myself inside the cartels in Mexico and do some one-on-one interviews. Actually, I won't be doing them. I'll be producing and filming it, but I'm going with a gentleman that has contacts to get us sit-down interviews with like the leaders of these cartels. So every other weekend I'll be out of town, and I might get stuck in there, so I might not be able to make it on a Monday, because I might not get back in time. But I'm going to try to do these shows every night, Monday through Friday, and do everything I can to help support the Kadena ecosystem.
Well, to reply to the first thing you were saying, it's a really good point. I think we've all been guilty of kind of getting emotionally connected to some of our investments, especially Kadena, kind of being what people call a coin lover. And I definitely vouch for getting out there. And, you know, there's money to be made other places. I mean, there's always some shitcoin skyrocketing, and there's always opportunities out there. So definitely look around to anyone listening. But, you know, Kadena is always going to be my number one, right? It's what I always come back to. If I make profits on some shitcoin, I'm going to throw it back into Kadena.
Yep, man. I'm with you on that. It's like the only one that you can, you know, I try to live by this, you know, that if you look back in any industry, right, you always have the early bloomers, the MySpaces. And then you have the people that look at MySpace like Zuckerberg and realized every flaw that it had and how you can improve it and make it 100 times better. And, you know, the Kadena teams kind of sat by on the sidelines, and they've learned and they've studied and they've watched. You know, my biggest thing is how do they get adoption, and how do they get more people into the industry and using their blockchain? But they're also, you know, where I think Solana, if I had to take a guess, you know, knowing what I know now and what I've learned over the last couple of years, I think Solana was created by the CIA. Maybe not the CIA, you know, maybe not, you know, Anatoly Yakovenko being CIA, but, you know, I mean, most CIA agents aren't really Americans, you know, so maybe he was, you know, direct CIA. But if you look at how Solana came out, Solana was rolled out for one purpose. Who rolled it out? Sam Bankman-Fried. Did Sam Bankman-Fried become this fucking crypto billionaire overnight by himself? Fuck no, he didn't. That dude was handpicked, hand-chosen, crafted. They skirted every law, every regulation. They bought off every politician. that motherfucker's stupid as shit and he's corrupt as fuck and he's now sitting in prison, right? But he didn't get there, not even with his parents and everything like that. Like, he didn't get there. I mean, our government was protecting him and they were doing everything they can because they wanted to collapse Bitcoin. They wanted Sam Bankman-Fried to have enough liquidity on his exchange to where he could do what he did, right? He was taking everybody's Bitcoin, he was transferring it over to other exchanges, and he was driving down the price while at the same time selling fake Bitcoin on his own exchange to create more selling pressure, right? And then he ran out of Bitcoin, and we stopped at what was like 15,000 or 16,000 or something like that. But just imagine if he would have had the 8 billion that he was going to get from the Bahamas in carbon credits, because there would have been no backstop. He could have been trading out his carbon credits, getting cash, going and buying Bitcoin on other exchanges, then bringing it right back and selling it again. So, I don't really know, but I just feel like that Solana came out, it was corrupt as fuck. The people that were backing it were corrupt. And you look at what Sam Bankman-Fried did, it was to roll out USDC. USDC had what, like a $1 billion or a few $1 million market cap. And then Solana rolls out and they roll out at the same time Star Atlas. Did anybody make any money out? Is Star Atlas a thing, or was Star Atlas one giant, huge Ponzi scheme from the very beginning? I remember buying a couple $1,000s worth of ships and one day they were worth 20,000. I should have sold those suckers. But I was like, wow, this game is, completely changed. This game's revolutionary. Look how good the graphics are. Everybody's going to want to play this. This is going to be a game changer. You're going to go on missions and own gas stations, and you can rent out your gas stations and make fucking passive income. I'm like, this is brilliant. But was it really, or was it all just a scam? And then you look at the DeFi ecosystem in Solana and you're like, wow, we were all buying into Solana because it had $10 billion in TVL. And then you realize that like $9.9 billion was literally 3 different projects all created by the same person who was basically trading assets and staking assets and doing everything. It was all fake. So was Solana ever designed to do anything? Or was it just designed to onboard USDC and get so many people using USDC that they wanted to use USDC over Tether? Then they could target and collapse and take out Tether. And it just seemed to all fail simultaneously. So I don't even know what the original question was. I'm rambling again, but I think fucking Solana is a huge scam.
I completely agree. It's all a giant scam. And, anyone can tell you that Solana's just a giant red flag, man. I mean, if you even have half of a brain, you look at it, they have an infinite supply, and the blockchain shuts down, and they have to go in and fix it once a year. And so it's no wonder how there's any money on that chain.
Oh, it really is, man. And this is where I keep going back to people like, right, look at Solana at $15. I was like, oh, this is a shit coin. Nobody's ever going to buy it. Why the fuck would anybody buy into a blockchain that breaks and was literally created as like almost like a realistic version of a Ponzi scheme in crypto? I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But yet here we are, man. And people continue to buy into it, and they're going to continue to buy into it. And then people like me also trade it, right? Like I actually own XRP, as embarrassing as that is to say, but I'm trading my XRP against Bitcoin, right? So I'm not trading in US dollars and taking profit in dollars. As price goes up, it's selling my XRP and it's taking profits in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the main asset. So I'm using XRP, which in the last probably like month and a half has made me like 5 Gs in Bitcoin. And it made me 5 Gs in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was what, 50 or 40 or whatever thousand it was a month ago when it started. So, this is how I've been making a lot of my Bitcoin is these bots, man. And I try to tell everybody there, I got Blue into it and I set his bots up on fucking some insane strategy that I have. I thought he was going to be able to keep adding like I was. And price ran all the way up to $1.80 and then back down to $1. Right. So that's over like a 50% pullback. You kind of set your bots up like, okay, hey, I wanted to trade this range. And, it's great. But when Kadena makes those big runs, because it's so volatile and has such a small market cap, it basically runs out of your grid and you have to either add more money or you have to wait for price to go up to the lowest point you bought at. So, I don't want to tell everybody that they should be using bots, but if you have the ability to sit here and take a month and use testnet, because you can get, with my link down in the description, you can get a free trial on these bots, and you should set them up in testnet, and you should see how they run. You should see when they run out of money. You should see how they are. I mean, I'm clearing right now 22 Gs every 90 days running bots. So I don't really have to chase shit coins anymore. I don't really have to chase the next, 100x gem. I just have to keep my bots running. And these ones are only running, and these ones did that with about 40K in liquidity. So if I'm doing it with 40K and you have 10K, right, you should be able to be clearing about, what is that, about 5,000 every 90 days. And if you're able to make that type of passive income without getting out of bed, without lifting a finger, without doing anything besides letting your bots run, and the biggest downfall to these bots is, you know, if you set them up on a baby Doge, and baby Doge has a $500 million market cap, and then you give it 10 grand to trade against baby Doge, and baby Doge does what Kadena did. It runs up and then it drops and it runs out of your grid. You then have to give that bot more money for it to turn back on and keep trading. So, I mean, my Kadena bot, my original one, was like 12 or 15 grand. And I was screaming at everybody. I said, guys, you turn on your bots when they're at the bottom, right? Like Kadena's at 40 cents. Where are we going from here? I was sharing that in my Telegram. I said, I'm turning mine on. You guys don't have to do it right now, because I thought we were going to be down there for longer. But, and I traded that bot all the way from 40 cents all the way up to the peak at $1.80. And then when it came down from $1.80 and went all the way down to $1, your bots, I could only set up 100 grids. So I thought I just kept throwing more money at it, and it just keep turning on and just keep, stacking more limit buy orders. And then as it would go up, it would cash out all those, right? And then put more as it comes down. But I ran out of grids. Like the bot isn't able to let you program in more than 100 grids. So once I had those 100 limit sell orders set up at like $350 a piece, right? That's how much it was. So this bot had like $33,000 and it had bought Kadena. So I ended up just having a big giant bag of Kadena. So then I had to put that Kadena into my wallet, and then I had to go get more USDT and reset that bot up, and I got it running again. And now that I'm going up, I can just put those other sell orders and it'll sell it, right? And then buy it back again and build into that bot. But these bots are so, like, they can't lose. And like, at Kadena, say at $1.70 right now, and you fire up this bot. Well, if you give it 10 grand and you can only trade between $1.70 and $1.40, and it runs out past $1.40, well, then you have to find a way to get more USDT to turn it back on and keep it running, because it'll scale down and keep putting more buy orders and keep trading in those zones as long as you can do it. But it can't make a losing trade. And at the worst case, you end up with a big bag of Kadena, right? But look at Blue. Now, if he would have left his bot on, there would have been a period where it ran for however many days. It made him $1,000 or something dollars, right? And then it turned off because it ran down, and he had this big bag of Kadena. But it's not even a month later, and he's got all of his money back. So the risk to these bots would be trading them on small shit coins, trading them on assets like Bitcoin and Kadena and Flux, but Flux isn't on Bybit. But that's the holy grail, in my personal opinion. Being able to generate passive income with the crypto that you already have, so you don't have to hunt down these shit coins. I mean, you guys watch, we've aped into everything, every DAO, every DeFi ecosystem, everything. And we consistently got wrecked a majority of the time. Or, somebody in our community got in late and they were left holding the bags. There might have been a couple of us that made money, but, that's been my thing is, right? Like, there has to be a way for us to all make money together, and we have to do it the same without scamming or screwing anybody over, stabbing anybody in the back, or making our own meme coin where, we're just trying to pump it so that some other sucker comes and buys it so they can be our exit liquidity. These bots are legit the only thing that I've ever seen in this entire industry in the 7 years that I've been doing it, that I've been able to say, hey, I'm making consistent money. I can show you, I can prove that I'm making consistent money. You can see every trade that this thing has made and how profitable they are. And, and not only that, you can set up a testnet one for free and play with it and prove it out to yourself. You just, even last year when I was doing this, I didn't understand how these bots really work. And we were setting them up, we were running bots, and I was like, oh, cool, they're making me some money. Yeah, but I didn't really understand them. Now, this whole summer, when I haven't been, doing crypto, I've just been focusing on running these bots, and made a few mistakes, made a few bad decisions, but now I fully understand how they work, and I can't lose money. They're just they just buy low and they sell high. Now, if price doesn't go back up, they can't sell, so you end up holding more of this coin. But if Kadena were to come back down to $1, like it did, I wanted to buy more Kadena anyways. So I would just hold it and just keep buying more. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind that Kadena is going to be, $50 next bull run. I actually think it's going to go up to 200 or 300 when everything else starts breaking and everybody's looking around like, what can I use? If the onboarding experience is smooth. I think that's critically important. And have you been, let me ask you something. Have you been in the Kadena ecosystem? It sounds like you've stuck around this whole time. What are you seeing coming from the Kadena team? Are you happy with what you're seeing? What is there that you would be doing different if you were Kadena?
What I've seen, the whole thing about new Kadena has just been a shift in company culture, right? And so, if you don't know, I haven't been in the ecosystem for since you were here before. It's been since October 2022. I've only heard stories of the old Ryan Matta days, but since then I've been a project manager for Wizards Arena, which is one of the more successful and fun, profitable projects around the Canadian ecosystem. And they've ignored us for over a year. They've never talked to us or give us any recognition. But ever since Mike's been here, they've actually batted an eye at us, and that now we're on the website. They're asking me to come submit a grant. They actually endorse us, and so that's the biggest change I've seen is the team actually trying to be part of the community and it not just be two separate entities.
Man, that was a frustrating time back then. I'm not gonna lie. It just seemed like it was so easy, and maybe we didn't know what the inner workings were. But whoever hired Mike, that guy's a godsend, man. He really is. He's completely changed the demeanor. I mean, could you imagine what people would be saying about Kadena right now if it was still like it was back then? I mean, we would be setting up take profits at $10, trying to pray that we bought enough at $1 to get our money back out of it, because that's what it's going to take, man. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. You see all this money in these, these PR firms, and we've seen these PR firms now buying the largest crypto media outlets. What was that one? Cointelegraph was bought by Luna PR, right? And they own the PR firm. They own the news agency, right? I mean, there's only a few big news agencies that everybody goes to. And these people own heavy bags of every other shitcoin, probably besides Kadena. Now, maybe they might own some Kadena, but, Kadena shines a spotlight on every other blockchain's failures. And where they fail, Kadena doesn't fail, which is a huge, I guess basically a big middle finger to the rest of the industry. Yeah, that's just my opinion, man. But I've heard a lot of great things about the Wizards. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
All right, I got you. So we're an NFT game built right here on Kadena. And so each NFT is either a wizard, a cleric, or a druid. It's an in-game character. We have our own marketplace. You can go over to wizardarena.net and check it out. Maybe pick one up. And so what you can do with these wizards is you can upgrade them. They have customizable stats. And so
what's the website called?
Really possible in Kadena because we have upgradable smart contracts.
Wait, what'd you say the website was?
So actually, whenever... Oh, go ahead. It's wizardarena.net.
Cool, go ahead. You keep talking. I'm just going to pull it up here and show everybody.
Gotcha. So, yeah, what we do is each NFT is an in-game character. You can upgrade your stats, you get them battle ready. You can battle your NFTs. You can stake it and earn our wizard token. If you want to see a sexy chart, you can go to rondex.xyz/wizza. That's a website I made. And then you up top, you would click on the 1D chart.
Wait, say that one more time. Ron.
Sexy chart.
What is it?
Rondex, RONDEX.xyz.
What was it?
/wizza. .xyz.
XYZ. What is XYZ?
It's a newer domain, and it's a lot cheaper than .net and .com.
Oh, no shit. Cool, man. Oh, dude, I like that chart, man. That is sexy. Oh, you got the fib right there. Oh, shit. You got all the tools. Let's go, bro. That's sweet. No shit.
And so, are you looking at like a trading view chart right now?
Yeah, I'm actually on your Dex right now, playing around with the indicators. Oh yeah, there's the fib retracement tool. That's the one I was looking for. Oh no shit.
Now, what you want to do? Go up top and click on the tokens drop down and click on Wizza.
No shit. When did this launch?
This is not necessarily launched. It's just a site I've made for myself because nobody else has candle charts. And so I'm a beginner dev, and I figured out myself just how to make these charts because I was tired of not having one.
Oh, dude, that's badass, man. Oh, it even shows the opens,
man.
the lows, the close. Damn, dude, that's really good, man. And it's clean and it's quick. That's really quick. It's really responsive.
And so, believe it or not, ChatGPT is responsible for a lot of this code.
No shit, man. That's so funny. I was just talking to them about that. That's badass, man.
Yep, it's pretty cool. And so my next obstacle will be working with Pact and Kadena and trying to figure out that stuff. But what you're looking at right now, I do no work with Pact at all. The only data that I really have to interact with is KD-Swap has an API that interacts with the blockchain for me, and then I can just pull data from that KD-Swap API.
No shit, man. I like that scrolling thing that you put there at the top of your website. The scrolling prices across the top.
Oh yeah, the colors.
Yeah, how you got the coin prices that scroll across the top of your website. I'm actually gonna do something cool with that really quick here. I wanted one of those for my for the top of my streams, right? So I don't know if you're watching the stream right now, but I just switched back to this page. Now I have the let's move that down a little bit. Now I have the prices from your website scrolling across the top of my screen. Because you have the price of Bitcoin, the price of what do you call those things at the top?
Yeah, it's called the ticker tape.
Yeah, the tickers. Yeah, that's what it is. The tickers are scrolling across the top of there now. I was able to take a screen grab from it and crop it and put it into my show. So now it's at the top there. That's badass.
Oh, I'm looking now. That's badass.
Yeah. You got Wizard Coin up there?
It is not. So that's a trading view, and you can only put in stuff that they have sources for.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
so we're not listed on any sections yet, so I haven't been able to get with it in there. But that's a big step coming up.
Dude, that's fucking sweet, man. That's so cool. And it actually doesn't glitch. Every time I try to do this with another site, it's like super glitchy. Like they're not scrolling fast enough. You got that one pretty on point.
It's been a pretty cool process. I have business access directly to go into the trading view stuff, and so a lot of the tools that they have, I can go in and just use them.
Man, that's freaking badass, dude. Good job on that site, man. So tell us a little bit more about these wizards.
Yeah, so it's an NFT game, like I said before.
These Marmalade?
And pretty much what you do. Oh, what are you saying?
These Marmalade NFTs?
Not yet. That's going to be part of our big upgrade.
Okay.
And so if you don't know, kind of in the past year, a whole big thing has been trying to unify the standards and trying to get all projects running on the same standard, kind of like any other blockchain.
Yep.
And so a big problem has been that a lot of people don't really like what Kadena's been trying to do with Marmalade V2. And so there's been a community force that came out called Marmalade NG that's tried to improve on some of these features that, even Amir was on here earlier. He's one of the best devs in the community, and he came to the team in the past and said, hey, there's some things that you should be doing with V2. And they've kind of just been like, hey, go screw yourself. We'll do what we want. And so out of that, the community kind of made their own standards. And so in the midst of all of this, we haven't really known what to do, right? There's the Kadena V2, there was V1 before that, there's NG, there's Butter, there's Forks and all that, and we've kind of just been letting the whole thing play out until there's kind of a better sense of direction.
Wow, man, that's a lot. I know that there's a lot going on with those NFTs, and I'm so confused on why there's just not one set standard that, everybody can get behind.
Me too. It is confusing.
So what is the obstacle to going up from where you guys are at right now to Marmalade?
Well, for right now, we're on chain 1, and they only have their Marmalade V2 on chain 8, so we would have to move to chain 8. We also have the longest and most in-depth smart contracts on Kadena, and so also kind of like the labor and the dev work of actually moving all of that stuff over and translating it into like the Marmalade standard, because they do things like different.
Do you understand enough to explain what is different between the standard you're using and Marmalade, and why would there be a benefit to switching from one to the other?
I would say the big benefit, and I think this might be kind of part of the whole saga that you went through before, is that the butter is a little bit centralized, where it's pretty much a table, right? An NFT is just a table. And so the person that's in charge of that table can come in and just change the owner.
Yep.
Because the owner field is just a freaking field on a table.
Yep.
And
yeah,
so
that's when we were minting those NFTs, and people are like, "Oh, I got a duplicate," and they're like, "Oh, you don't have a duplicate anymore," and I'm like, "What?" And like, "Yeah, they just changed my NFT in real time." I'm, what? How does that work? How is that? Like, we're never going to be able to be like, "Oh, hey, buy this NFT and it's authentic and it's worth a lot of money, and I promise it's the original one that was minted on chain," because I can't prove that. You know, I'd be like. I spent a lot of money on those damn NFTs, and I was more pissed that the Kadena community didn't just come out and like just. I would have been happy if they would have just came on and said, "Hey, man, here's what's going on. Here's what's actually happening." You know, blah 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 blah. But you know, they didn't, and it was rough, man. I didn't appreciate losing all that money when it could have been prevented. Not even just prevented. I mean, I'm cool if that was like the open door policy and everybody was under the assumption that this is how things were operating. Great, you know, but when the devs can go back in and give themselves a super rare NFT and then sell that NFT for 8,000 Kadena. I mean, that's not really cool, you know. It's like you're technically stealing, but you know, it should happen. I don't have any grudges against anybody, but I know everybody's just so damn excited to build on Kadena, and they were just trying to put together anything they could, and you know, more so on the Kadena's team's fault for not being abundantly clear that, you know. That would have been a perfect example to come out and say, "Hey, this is why we have Marmalade. This is why it's not ready yet. This is what we're working on. You know, this is why we told everybody to wait, you know," or whatever the case may be. But you know, it is what it is. So when are you guys planning to move over everything to Marmalade? Do you guys have a date for that you're trying to get it done by?
I am just a few days away from submitting our grant proposal, and it's going to be part of that process.
No shit. Hell yeah, man. How hard is it to find devs to... Like, say you got more funding, what are you guys going to be trying to do? Hire more devs to help you build out everything that needs to be built out?
So we have like an absolute rock star of a dev. It's a little bit unique about a lot of these other crypto projects. They will start something with no dev knowledge, and then they'll have to outsource stuff that can kind of be a nightmare. We actually, his name's Ilario. He's Italian. He's the founder and the artist and the front end and the back end and the smart contract dev. And he's deep rooted. He's like, this is his project. And so it really helps us a lot because he's passionate about it, right?
Yep.
We have a dev on the team that actually cares about this stuff. It's his baby.
Dude, that's badass.
So that helps us a lot. We're probably not going to have to outsource much.
Dude, that's great, man. That's good to hear. And what are you guys' plans for moving this project forward? Where do you see it being in a year from now or 2 years from now?
I think a year or two from now, we could be a blue chip NFT project. It's a really fun game. We'd love to have you over sometime and test it out. And we have a lot of fun, and we make a lot of money too.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Maybe I'll get you guys on for an interview next week if you guys want to come on, or whenever you guys are getting ready to upgrade or do whatever. If you guys get approved for a grant, you guys want to come on and talk about it and show off the project. Are we able to play it live? Is this? It reminds me. I get the DeFi Kingdoms vibe going on.
A lot of people get nostalgia from stuff like Pokemon or like D&D. It kind of gives a vibe like that. We could play it live if we get you a wizard, and we could, give you the whole onboarding process and maybe play some tournaments with you. It'd be a fun time.
Yeah, maybe we do that live, man. That sounds like a good show.
Oh yeah, that'd be a blast.
We can walk people through how to mint one and do the onboarding process. What wallets are you guys fucking with?
My favorite recently has been Link's wallet. They do a really good job at solving the whole chain thing where you know, if you want to send some Kadena, you don't have to worry about what chain it's on. They'll just do all that for you.
No shit. That was one of the biggest issues before. I mean, those cross-chain transfers and then having to go and actually finish the cross-chain transfer. I was like, dude, there's just no fucking way, man.
Yep. And so that's probably the best mobile wallet. And then when I'm on the PC, I still use Echo.
No
or
shit.
I guess it's formerly called X Wallet.
Well, Ron, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in. You got anything else you wanted to say before I'm going to take a couple more calls here and then wrap up the show?
I just want to say I appreciate you. You know, thanks for having me on. And I'm going to hit you up. I'm actually really, I love passive income. So I'm going to hit you up about those bots. And I'm also going to be reaching out to you to maybe plan a live session soon.
Sounds good, Ron. Appreciate you, man. God bless you, dude.
Thanks, man. God bless.
Thank you. All right, folks, let's do one more call. If anybody else wants to call in and jump on here, maybe we'll just take a look at some charts. What do you guys say? I'm gonna do a little coin calling. Let me get some things set up here to do fuck around with some coin calls. It's been a minute, man. I feel like we've been going for a while. Man, this is why when they get me in the political stuff, I'm like, man, an hour show is a little bit rough for me to do. Not rough now. I got a pretty good understanding of it, but man, I could talk crypto all day. Politics, you know, that shit's just not my jam, but you know, we're making it work. We're fighting to save our country because that's what we got to do. So let's effing go, says Ron. Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. I could talk crypto all day, man. This is so much better than doing politics. So much better, man. But let's keep it rolling, folks. Let's keep it going, man. What do you guys want to do? You guys want to drop some coin calls in here? You guys want to take some calls? We can do whatever y'all want. It's late. Everybody's probably sleeping over here in the USA. Let's jump on here, man. It's been a minute. Oh, I need to upgrade that. Yeah, we can't do coin calls yet. I got to go and upgrade and get signed up for TradingView and everything. Bitcoin at 67,000, baby. Take a look at our bots and see how our bots are doing. Let me get signed in here. We'll jump over into these bots. We'll jump back over here for a minute. I need to move my shit around. Give me 1 second. I don't want to have to keep moving stuff. Let me get this all set up here. Man, I'm so weird. It's like I normally don't have dead air time. So if anybody wants to call in, we take one more call. But if not, we'll do some coin calls. Actually, I don't want to do coin calls. I just want to get set up and take a look at our bots and see how our bots doing so you guys can see this. Yeah, we used to have music too. I kind of like the music vibes. I don't know if I can sign in with Bitscap, maybe. Sure can, folks. All right, let's see how our bots are looking. All right. I need to get a better screen for this stuff. So I think I just need to zoom out. Yeah, there it is. All right, so bots are up about $6,000. And now you can see that this one is funded, right? So this one's not trading right now because it's ran out of funds.
Unknown caller.
And I need to add funds to it. Looks like we got one more call coming in. Let's take this call and then we'll jump over here and talk about our bots. I'll show you how I'm going to add to them.
One. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello. Thank you for calling the Crypto War Room. This is Matta. How you doing?
Good. How are you? This is Ryan?
Yeah, who am I speaking with?
Jimmy. Man, I'm Are You Wild?
Oh, Jimmy, Are You Wild? What up, homie?
Nada, brother.
Great to hear you, man. Thanks for calling
Hey,
in.
I got a quick question for you.
What's going on?
Do you guys, let's take the layman people that don't do crypto and they're interested in getting into it, is there some way where you could like drop maybe like $5,000 and then just keep adding to it weekly or something?
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. You know, I personally say Binance. You know, I know they're being targeted by the U.S. government, but I think Binance is the easiest to do it with. It connects to your bank account. Binance US sells Kadena, they sell Flux, and they sell Bitcoin, which are your three main assets that you want to hold and you want to buy. You can do direct deposit right through your bank account.
Without doing it through your bank.
Without doing it through your bank, you have to be able to find somebody that will sell you the crypto for cash, which, you know, I'm sure they have, OTC Bitcoin groups where you can meet up with somebody, but you got to kind of find somebody you trust, somebody that you know. But the easiest way to do that is, finding somebody that you know that will meet up with you and do an over the counter deal. Yep. So,
I got one more quick question for you.
But the bank is so easy. It's so simple. It's literally like, you connect your debit card to PayPal or any site and you buy anything online. Crypto is literally the exact same. The only downside to that is
when the government comes after our bank account.
But the thing is, they can't touch your crypto. You buy it with your cash, and then you. So if you leave it on, say you buy it on Binance and you leave it on Binance, the government can go to Binance and technically freeze your account. Now, if you buy it on Binance,
like they do with the bank.
Yep. And then if you buy it at Binance and you send it to a crypto wallet, which is what I recommend everybody do, which is what I just did for Hernando yesterday, no government can get that. No government can touch that. No government, theoretically, would even know that you owned it or you still had it, right? Because nothing in that wallet is attached to your name. So that is what I tell everybody to do, but it's why it's so important to spend those 40 hours. And I know it sounds like a lot and everybody's in a hurry to get into crypto, but Bitcoin pulls back 20 to 30%, 3 to 4 times in a cycle. So it's on this ripper right now. The next time you see it pull back 20 or anything even close to 20%, that's when you have no choice but to go, okay, I have to put that money and capital into the market right now. And the players, the bigger whales are extremely good at pushing price up to a point and then pushing it up higher and then pushing it up higher. And then you being like, it's just going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up. I have to buy now because I didn't buy at, 60,000 and now it's 69,000. What if I don't buy today? Then it's going to be 70 or 80,000 tomorrow. And then as soon as you buy in, after hemming and hawing for months, price will crash. It always does. And then you're going to be like, motherfucker. but it happens to all of us, man. And it's almost
like my kind of luck.
Yeah, it's just it's almost like your initiation into getting into crypto, right? If you don't buy in and price doesn't tank, you're fucking not doing it right. Everybody in the Hernando's like, Hernando's in here. Hernando got in yesterday, and I don't know what he's up yet, but he's probably up some good amount of money. Go ahead.
Hey, so let's say I have, I don't know, 50 grand or 100 grand in a crypto account. What happens if I die? Can my kids still get it?
Yes. So you're going to get.
I'm in an accident.
Yeah. And this is the tricky part, right? Because you're going to, when you create your own crypto wallet, it's going to give you a one-time password. You're going to create your password, or certain crypto products, they give you it's like 16 words and you write those words down, right? You write them on a sheet of paper and then you go and you engrave them in a piece of metal. So that way, if you're safe or your house burns down and that piece of paper burns, your password doesn't burn with it, right? So you basically get this little piece of metal that costs $5 on Amazon or 10. Well, now under Biden, it's probably 20. But you buy this little piece of metal, you engrave this code into it, and then that code is the only way that anybody can get access to your wallet. So, I mean, I don't know, it wouldn't go and leave it at my brother's or cousin's or sister's house and be like, hey, here's my $1 million worth of Bitcoin that's on this wallet here, because if they get it, they can go and take it without you knowing, unless you're checking your wallet every day. But if you, like I got a bunch of Kadena and Bitcoin and Flux in a wallet that I split the key in two different places. So it's at one relative's house on one side of the state and it's at another relative's house on the other side of the state. They both know they have something.
Yeah, I heard you.
So go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I got a delay watching the stream.
That's all right, man.
So I'm just listening to you from my phone.
Oh, okay. I'm not going directly into your headphones. You're waiting for it to come through the stream?
No, you're going into my phone. I don't have any sound on my monitor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you're watching me on the stream, it's about 30 seconds delayed if I had to take a guess. Yeah, and Azza says it's 12 words.
So I would have to do it. Am I that far delayed?
No, you're good, man. No, you're good. No, I'm talking about if you're watching the stream and you're hearing me talk to you, what's going to be coming out of the stream is going to be about 30 seconds behind or maybe 10 seconds behind.
Oh, okay. That's okay. I can't read lip video. Hey, man. I miss chatting with y'all on the LSA. I know I just found out you hate politics. But I kind of want to get into it, but I don't know nothing about it, man.
Hey, man, that's why you just gotta go home at night, man, and instead of watching our shows on LFA or whatever you're doing, there's no better investment you can make for yourself and your family than that 40 hours, man. Because I haven't told one person to do it.
Banking on Bitcoin.
Yeah, start with banking on Bitcoin, man. It's a really good documentary, and it shows you the beginning. And you're just gonna think to yourself like, shit, I heard about Bitcoin back then. Why wasn't I this guy? You know, because if you were that guy,
exactly,
you're a billionaire today. And I tell everybody this, right? Look at the first time that you heard about Bitcoin. And when was that? What year was that? Okay, 2013, 14, 18, right? Whenever it was, if you would have did what I just told you to do today, you would 100% be in an exponential better position in life today. And if you spend that 40 hours today, the sooner you do that, the sooner you get that done, your life changes immediately. Like, it's very rare in life when you can pinpoint an exact moment in time where everything in your life changed for the better. And it's even harder to do that when it's happening in real time. So if you listen and take this advice now, right, 4 years from now, you're going to look back at this exact moment in time and go, aha. Like, I can look back and say, when I made that phone call with Ryan and he convinced me and I watched these documentaries, everything's going to change for the better. I mean, like, even if you're only able to put, $1,000 a week or a month or a year away, like, that $1,000 is going to continue to appreciate at roughly 100 to 200% per year forever. Well, at least for the next like 10 or 20 years. So, I mean, they say that, what is it? The one guy, I forget what company he owns. He's like one of the best traders in all of history. He's like a mathematician genius. I was just watching this thing yesterday on him, and he outbeat the stock market. He's one of the few traders that consistently every year outperforms the stock market. And his average gain per year
like
was
Nancy Pelosi.
like Nancy Pelosi. His average profit per year was 66%. And he did that every year, I think, for like 37 years. So if you would have invested basically like $100 or $700 or something like that, or $1,000, it would have been worth $1 billion something dollars. Actually, I think it was $7 billion. Right? So you compound 66% every single year. And, Bitcoin is going to do the same thing, right? Like, it's going to constantly compound. Even if it runs to 1 million now, there's just only 21 million of them. And I mean, everybody, like, when I first did my first LFA show, right, we had about 400, 500 people in there, or 600 people. And it was like, I talked about Bitcoin. Everybody's like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, you could see my stream instantly like started to die. And I was like, wow, these people really fucking hate Bitcoin over here, And then like now I talk about it, and it's like half the people in the live chat are like, fuck yeah, Bitcoin, let's fucking go, And I'm like, nah. You're seeing it, man. You're seeing people wake up. So there's 21 million of this thing, which is literally digital freedom. You are a slave if you don't own any Bitcoin. I mean, it's literally that simple. You are working and trading your time and energy for something that somebody can print out of thin air for free, and it is backed by absolutely nothing. We used to be backed by a big military, a big, powerful, strong military. Now we got a bunch of dudes that walk around with their fucking, in fucking high heels and their, dicks chopped off. And you're like, what the fuck happened, dude? Like, we have drag queen story hour in the U.S. military. We're a fucking joke. So, the U.S. dollar ain't backed by, well, it's probably backed by a bunch of dicks, but gay dicks. All right, Jimmy, man, I appreciate you calling in, bro. Thank you so much. And where can everybody follow you on Twitter?
Oh shit! Are you wild? Same thing.
Are you wild? It is, my friend. God bless you, man. Thank you for calling in.
Later, brother.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks. All right, folks, let's jump over to these bots so I can show you what's going on right here. This is a perfect learning example for everybody, right? So these bots are trading Matic and BTC, right? Why is it showing my value in, oh, there it is. We want value in USD. There you go. All right, so this bot right here, right? This Matic bot has $17,000. It has now taken all of my BTC and it has used that BTC to buy Matic. And now you can see it's locked, right? So what that means is I have to come in here now and I have to add more BTC because it's taken all the BTC I gave it, which is $18,000 worth, and it's bought $18,000 worth of BTC. Now I also turned this thing on 3 days ago, right? In 3 days, it's made me $402. This one right here, $307, and they're turned off. But what I'm going to do now is, not right now because I got to turn on my VPN, but I'm going to go on Bybit and I'm going to buy more Bitcoin. And I'm going to put my Bitcoin in my spot account, right? And the second that it hits my spot account, this bot's going to start putting limit orders. And if price stays in this range, right, it'll keep ordering. Now, to show you some crazy shit, right? Like, so I got 18 G's right here in Matic, right? And that is it's not bad, 6% window. So if I want to go down another 6%, right, I'm going to need another 18 G's. So this is where things get a little bit hairy. Right now, my Kadena bot, on the other hand, right, has been running for 1 month. And in 1 month off $10,000, this thing has made me $2,500. $2,500. $10,000. So that means in 4 months, my initial investment is 100% paid back. BTC bot, this one, it's BTC, and I got it set up with a little bit wider of a grid. This thing's never turned off. It's been running for 5 months, and with a $10,000 balance, it has bought me $2,619. It has made me $2,600, right? So it's Bitcoin, right? And it's USDT. It is what it is. It's not going to be a killer asset. Bitcoin's not nearly as volatile as everything else, but it's consistent, right? And it just runs. And this thing can go now it can go all the way down to 59,000 before I have to give it more money. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good setup there, right? So what's cool about this bot, right, is this bot's making me BTC, right? So if these were still on, and this is why I got it set up this way, right? So this bot has made me 2,000. This bot's made me, probably about 5,000 total, right? So now I can take the 5,000 in profit that these bots have made, and I can buy more Bitcoin for free. These bots made it. So these bots made me the Bitcoin that I'm about to go buy. They made me the USDT that I'm going to go buy and give these bots more Bitcoin. Now, let's just say that price started coming down, right? I'm making more Bitcoin with these bots. So I can take the USDT, I can buy more Matic, I can buy more Bitcoin. And you see how that circle works? I started these things off with like $12,000. And now I've accumulated $58,000 into these bots. Some of that came from work. A majority of that came from the bots that we're trading here. And you think you go into my history. And how do I do this? See if we can go all the way back to like, I don't know when I started those suckers. We'll just go here. Right? So this KDA bot, $17,000, right? $17,000. But that one I had to turn off. That was the big one. But that one made me $17,000. But what it actually made me was $17,000 worth of Kadena between $1.80 and $1.30. Right? That's huge. Bitcoin, the only way you lose on these is if you just have to turn them off to regrid. Right? You're not losing anything unless you sell, right? Like if I didn't have any more USDT and I had to sell my Bitcoin, right? This one was like $19,000 and then it shut off because it just bought. But it bought me, X amount of Bitcoin at $20,000, right? It bought me $19,000 worth of Bitcoin at $20,000. It's a whole Bitcoin, right? So, oh well, it turned off. The bot here shows that I lost 7.19%. My actual, well, maybe I only lost 0.36%, so $71. But that would be if I sold, right? I just turned the bots off. They're not a loss unless you're closing your bots and telling them to turn off and cash out all my trades. I just say, okay, turn off, keep all the crypto. I'm not going to sell it, right? I'm pretty confident that Matic's not going to zero. I'm pretty confident that, XRP with BlackRock trying to get an ETF approved ain't going to zero, right? So sometimes you buy, right? Like I could turn these bots off right now and technically I'd be down $678, but I'm not selling that XRP at a loss. I'm just going to hold it until it goes back up and then I'm going to, sell it or keep it and keep holding on to it. But I personally like just adding to my bots. Like this is a perfect one. So by tomorrow, I'll have given this bot X amount of more dollars and it'll add a grid. And then this one here now, right? So if this bot, so what's crazy about this, right? Is this bot will go down and buy. What's it buying? It's buying Bitcoin. What do these bots need? They need Bitcoin. So a lot of times if this sells a Bitcoin, price goes up or price goes down and it buys that Bitcoin, it doesn't have enough time to put the sell order in immediately. It normally waits a few seconds. Well, in that few second window, one of these bots, the Matic bot just turned back on. That's what I'm talking about, right? That one's back up and running now because it got enough to make that one trade. And that's all you need is just that one little bit to keep the bots running. And you see it running up there. Now it's going to buy and sell again. So maybe I don't need to add to them, but I'm still going to give them more money just to make sure that they're not turning off. But this is the holy grail, folks. You guys want to change your lives, understand how these bots work. I got a 7-day free trial for you, link below. But you can also use the paper trade thing. If you just come up over here and go to hold on, I just don't know what I'm going to open and show that I shouldn't show in here. Oh yeah, there it is, right there. All right. So right at the top, demo mode. So you come over here, you go down in the link, use my affiliate link. I think, yeah, you get a 7-day free trial. That's what it is. But just turn on demo mode. Don't put any money into it. Don't go out and buy any crypto. Just turn on demo mode. Play with this thing. Because nothing's going to be different than demo mode and real money. It's exactly the same. So if you can take this bot and play with it and learn it and understand how to use these to generate passive income, I mean, you're at a huge win in life. This is the name of the game, folks. You have to be able to generate and take your crypto that you already got and use it to generate more money. Or right? I mean, bots just don't take any time. So if there was a way that I could say, like, some people just don't have the mental capacity. If you don't, and you got free time, go get a second job and just buy crypto and just buy crypto and buy crypto. But why would you not want to take some of that crypto, right? Like my portfolio right here, we went over on today on LFATV. I think I'm up to 200K. And that's just that my one old main wallet that I was tracking before. And it might have a little bit more. Definitely doesn't have less. But I have a cold storage wallet, which is at about 213, right? So my one main cold storage wallet, I'm sitting at 213 in. You know, I guess you would say I have 50% of my portfolio on here because I got about 100K on exchanges, which I normally don't, right? I'm not a fan of keeping, more than 10 or 20% on a centralized exchange, but I have a very, very big bags that I got in cold storage. So if worst case scenario, I lost everything on the centralized exchange, it's just hard for me to turn off bots that are going to make me, $5,000 a month. Which is, or more than that, 7,000. There's 22 G's in the last 90. I showed it on LFA the other day. That's good money. That's good passive income, folks. And if you can do that and then put that profit into Bitcoin, that's probably like, I don't even know how many small altcoins I'm going to buy this cycle. Honestly, I think I'm just going to take every penny I make and put it into Bitcoin and buy only Bitcoin from here on out and just do it every single day and just see what happens with it. I might buy some altcoins. I'm going to buy some shit coins. Whom the fuck am I trying to kid? God bless you guys over here, over on the Crypto War Room, folks. What a freaking great night. What a great first show. Thank you, everybody that showed up. Thank you guys for calling in. Thank you for smashing that like button. We're going to keep bringing you guys this content. God bless you guys. Fuck YouTube. You heard it here. God bless you, Rumble. And God bless each and every one of you. We'll catch you guys in the next issue of War Room. And I'm trying to turn up the volume and play this outro, but there it goes. God bless you guys.
Bye.